Good people of the internet, No Cooldown is back in the establishment, building, tenement yard, wherever y'all hailing from at this point. We're here. We're back. No Cooldown. We're here for another installment, episode 103. I feel the age of the pod in my knees, but it's okay. We are here to talk these games. We're here to talk about this industry, baby. Hope y'all are doing well. Hope y'all are doing fantastically well this week and this month. September, all these games are flowing through. There's so much, again, news and updates and leaks about Switch buttons and all this stuff like that. There's a bunch of shit going around. It's all right, though. We're gonna try and cover as much as we can and give y'all the best we got with this breakdowns, because you know we do it like no other. And speaking of no other, there is no other person on this earth I would want to break down these podcast topics with me than my podcast partner in crime. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Emperor. You know what I'm saying? Took another break from him, but Mr. Wen Easy is in the building. Wen, say what's up.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I hope none of you are lapping Marvel vs. Capcom 2 because I need to catch up on 20 years of game knowledge.
Man, you're already in the game.
I got it yesterday. No. Shout outs to Ginseng. He
gifted.
He blessed me with a code.
Fair.
But now I have like a thesis of fighting game to write. That's what it feels like. It feels like every other fighting game has just been like regular college. Just feels like getting my doctorate in fighting games. There's a lot to unpack in that, but listen, been enjoying it. But I'm excited to talk about all things gaming and get my brain off of my term paper of quarter circles.
Fairs. I pray you don't run into the Weisler.
I'm not even gonna look at online. I wish I could turn that option off right now.
Oh man, you'll be all right. But we're gonna be more than fine on this episode, because that's not all we got. That's not all we brought. That's not all of who we brought. We got an OG amongst us, good people. He is an OG in this game. He is the legs behind the Double Jump channel on YouTube, bringing you the latest and greatest in gaming trailers and news. And he is also running it up on all platforms with everything from RPGs to retro games on his personal account. Y'all give it up. He is DBFig, man. What's going on, Fig? Welcome.
Yo, thank you so much for the warm welcome. And hey, what's up, listeners? I'm DBFig Gaming, and I'm an OG. I'm an old man still in this game. I don't know why I'm still here, but my old ass is holding on to dear life.
Hey, listen, we appreciate that you're here. We appreciate you in the game. We appreciate that you're on the pod. And just before we get into everything, please, again, just double down on where we can all find you.
Sure. You can find me in a lot of different places. I'm pretty much DBFig Gaming everywhere. So if you wanted to find me on YouTube, DBFig Gaming, and you'll find my channel dedicated to Let's Plays and live streams. If you look up Double Jump, you'll actually find my other channel, which just hit 5,000 subscribers.
Big up.
Big up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And that channel is basically trailer reactions and breakdowns and news. So a lot of people knew me from gaming news when I ran things like DB News back in the day, but now I'm kind of switching things up a bit. If you're on TikTok, I'm on TikTok as well. I'm throwing a bunch of stuff on TikTok, but I'm probably most known for like fun fact type of videos, like actually edited videos, not just somebody staring at a screen with the green screen stuff going on. So those are the main spots you can find me.
For sure. Make sure I will have all the links and stuff in the description and the username, so you can go check out everything, all the content from his handles. Make sure you tap in with Fig, man. Some dope content, a dope dude. Make sure you don't miss it. Without further ado, we have got a lot of stuff to talk about and get through. So, gentlemen, are we ready?
Born ready.
Always ready.
Let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. And let's start with EA. They're showing up a couple times on this podcast, but let's start off with one of our main stories about Battlefield, Wen Easy's favorite $90 investment. I'm sorry I had to bring it up, man. I'm sorry I had to do it, but it's okay. Battlefield is the next title has been, tentatively announced that the next Battlefield will return, and it will return to a modern setting. Vince Zampella spoke with the public, and he had a whole article with IGN over this past week talking about getting back to the core of Battlefield, citing Battlefield 3 and 4 as the peak of the series, a return to 64-player maps, going back to a class system and not specialists anymore, getting back to that right there. And they've entered full production status as of this year, and they have plans to have a community program sometime in 2025. They have about 4 studios that are at work on this game. DICE on the multiplayer, Motive in charge of the single player campaign, Criterion is driving content across single player and multiplayer with potentially future expansions by the looks of it, and Ripple Effect is working on a brand new Battlefield experience fueled by the unique Battlefield DNA that's been testing really well with players apparently. So I want to break this down. Let's go to the $90 investment, man. First, let's just talk about it. When this new details about the next Battlefield, talk to me. How do you feel about them?
So, and this may be a shocker, I'm not mad at this, right? I'm not, because
I'm genuinely shocked at that.
Yeah, no. And the reason I say this is because I will not be buying this day one. That's why I'm not mad at it.
Oh, okay,
but I will be tapping in. I'm fingers crossed we still have that EA Play, Xbox Game Pass connection. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully that'll hold me over. But I've learned my lesson to never pre-order a Battlefield game. Those $90 hurt me to a degree that I cannot even comprehend till this day. I'm gonna be sitting one day at my therapist's chair being like, you know, I think this all stems back from the $90 I spent on Battlefield 2042. But honestly, I think that they learned, because the thing is, I went back to Battlefield 2042, and I think if Battlefield 2042 was the game that came out, the game that is now came out when I bought it, I wouldn't even be complaining. I wouldn't have been complaining. And I really hope they learned their lesson. This feels like when you find out your ex is going to therapy, it's like you're happy for them, but you know that this is no longer your battle. You're gonna let that rock out. You may see them in the grocery store, exchange pleasantries, but best believe I will not be picking you up for any dates going forward. You and me, our lives may be parallel, but I don't know how much they will actually intersect.
That's words. That's words right there. That's bars. I ain't gonna lie. I hear it. Fig, with all the stuff about Battlefield, how you feeling?
I don't trust them one bit. It's straight up like, because I have a pretty decent memory when it comes to a lot of the marketing talk, and a lot of the things that are being said right now are almost bar for bar. If you turn it back about 4 or 5 years ago, the same thing they said about the last one. And you know, and when it came out, they're like, oh yeah, we made a little change here, we made a little change there, and they had the beta, and things were like, okay, this seems interesting. Then when the full game came out and they were promising all these features, it was not the game that they originally promised. It had a lot of bad maps, it had a lot of bad situations, and I'm very much in the realm of never pre-order, especially from any of these AAA groups, and see what the actual game is when it actually drops before you give them any of your money, because you know, they'll say anything to make sure you put down that money early, so that way, you know, they could, you know, have a quote unquote guaranteed sale, or at least run it up, you know, in their piggy bank for a bit. But in general, I just don't trust them. I mean, they're at a point now that they had so many other Battlefields. It wasn't like all the Battlefields were bad, you know. I mean, some of them are better than others, but they have such a track record of over promising and under delivering, and taking about a year or two before getting the game to a certain level that is actually up to what people expected, that they're at a mercy now of proving it to the Battlefield community. Some people are going to buy it no matter what, but I think they need to prove it this time, because I think people are a bit sick of that, you know, old dog and pony show.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's the point I definitely wanted to harp on as well. Like, the credit in the bank that the Battlefield franchise had is gone. I don't know how you can package Battlefield 2042 as, you know, it's the Battlefield to end all Battlefields. You got the Renderzook, you got the whole thing in the trailer where he jumped out the plane, that jumped out the jet, hit another jet with an RPG, and jumped in the same jet they was going, doing all these huge community things, like celebrating the history of Battlefield, whether it was online, the community driven things, and the actual, you know, the events and things that they built, the principles and staples of Battlefield, the evolution, the destructibility, all that stuff. You put it in Battlefield 2042, you drop the game, and it just doesn't fucking work for the first year. That's that's such a hard, like, it's such a hard break on all the momentum that was that credit and that social, like that social currency that Battlefield had, that clout that Battlefield had for however long, especially in the build up to that game. A lot of it was taken away. Again, from me, I was a person that wasn't really a Battlefield fan at first. Then I played a little bit of Bad Company. Then I played a lot of Battlefield 3, a lot of Battlefield 4, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm cool. I like this series now. This is really good. And by the time 2042 came out, I'm just like, I can't be gypped again day one. I can't be gypped again. And I think this is the thing that kills me. They can say all that they like in terms of getting back to the core, which I think is a good thing. 64 player maps, which I think is a good thing. Classes are back, specials are out. Don't change the trend. Just stick to those roots on that. You didn't need to change it. That's a good thing. Having these different, again, like you said, the marketing buzzwords, I think these are good things. I think they're actually committing to them because I think Vince Zampella understands the stakes here. Vince Zampella, if anybody knows how to build a shooter up and knows how to contribute to a successful shooter, it's probably him. Again, worked through Respawn, worked through the OG Infinity Ward. He understands some of the principles of what, is making a good shooter, and that's why they got him on the case for Battlefield, because they're in a bad way right now. But he can have all those things loaded. If this game does not work on day fucking one, we're in the same cycle. We're in the same Tsukiyomi that we started like 5 Battlefields ago. Like, and that's what gets me. Go ahead, Fig.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, people have short memories when it comes to things like Battlefield 4 is, a lot of people are beloved. They love Battlefield 4, but I still remember when that game came out, when it first came out, there's a meme of a soldier with that long stretch looking like a grab, and that wasn't in the beta, that was in the game at launch where that stuff happened, or people like doing like a duck crawl into the ground, and stuff like that. And it ended up being like one of the better Battlefield games in the end, but it still took almost 6 months.
It was close to a year. You
couldn't even get online for I feel like the first month. And I remember buying, and this was my fault, but my first experience with that game was the PS3 version of the game.
God bless you.
It was, there was a fog of war as far as the eye could see. That game felt like playing Silent Hill multiplayer. That's what it felt like. It was something that I don't even think should have been legal to sell to me. I bought it and I was like, this doesn't even feel like a real, is this a prank? Can I get my money back, please? It was awful. But I knew what I was doing was wrong when I decided to buy Battlefield 4 on the PS3. But yeah, no, those games, oh man. And it's funny is living through that experience and just not learning from it. But best believe I learned from it. I have it written down in my journal. I have it on I'm gonna paint it over my walls and just be like, don't pre-order a Battlefield game ever. I learned. I'm a better man for it now.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing with, quote unquote, the competitor of Call of Duty. What are they saying now with the new Black Ops? Hey, it's going back to basics. We're adding these extra features, but we're going back to basics. And this is, going to be like old Battlefield 2, Battlefield 3. I just kind of roll my eyes. I played the beta. It was fun, but at the same time, I'm just going to be like, I'm glad this thing's on Game Pass, because I'm going to jump on Game Pass the first couple days.
Yeah.
And try it out. And if it's the same old weird Call of Duty trash, I'm going to uninstall it and not feel bad.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair with that buy-in. And again, at least there's some expectation that Call of Duty will work on day one. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Exactly. And as much as again, when the Battlefield and Call of Duty debates were at their highest, that's the one thing I feel like sometimes Battlefield fans would never mention this shit. Bro, at least their shit works on day one. It might be some mid-pack, but at least they work on day one, man. It's just a tough battle, because we can sit here and talk about how much stuff that they could change. Again, I thought, like you said, Fig, first and foremost, the level design, the map design in 2042, I think was just off at first. They made those changes. They pulled the ice map. I forget the name of it, but they pulled that whole ice map for a couple weeks trying to tweak it and making sure it was good. They pulled it out of the rotation entirely to try to make it work. And they just miscalculated there with map design on a couple of different instances. The Levolution, I thought, again, outside of the tornado thing, I didn't see much. I think it was a scale back compared to older Call of Duty, older on Battlefields. I was like, that's insane.
Don't forget the sandstorm. Oh wait, that is a tornado. Actually, no, wait, was that?
That was
I think
also
it might have been the same thing.
That was also a tornado, just in a different area.
That was the only thing they got.
Never mind. Forget about the sandstorm.
And
It was pointless.
I think there might have been a tower falling, but it didn't really like fall. Like, bro, BF4, we had a whole building fall, gang. And like, I don't know how you took a step back from that. I'm like, yo, the principles that brought you to the dance and made you a staple standout, scaling back on them when there's more capability in terms of console power and PC power and what you can compute. I'm just like, that makes no sense. I'm not saying it puts into the uppermost limits, but innovate, try and find different ways to add those things in. And taking a step back on that was a missed shot to me. So I think these are things that they see and they can definitely improve upon. Whether they're gonna have a portal mode or still have the old, like the classic things, I don't know. I doubt that they'll bring that back immediately. I think they want to just focus on the core experience. So I think Portal will not be coming back anytime soon with the next Battlefield. I feel like that might be a down the line thing, but I don't mind that. If the core experience of the next Battlefield is good, I won't need a Portal. I won't need to go back. You'll just have that shit on top, ready to go first day. So there's that, and there's just so many points of difference that we can talk about. Again, the campaign, I like, if all else fails, I hope they have a decent campaign, because I have not been locked into any of those since Bad Company. So that is what it is. You know, I hope they have some type of like alluring single player. That would be nice. And I'm not saying it's a requirement, but that would be very nice to have something in the stratosphere of a Bad Company too, because they've been slacking in that department for ages now. But that is what it is.
I can't remember the last time, other than Bad Company, I can't remember the last time I played any Battlefield single player thing.
The last time I played one was Battlefield 4, and it was like the first 2 missions, and I was like, oh shit, it's Metro, and then that's it. That's the only thing I recognize about that shit. I was like, oh, it's Metro. I'm like, I might as well just go play max tickets, man. Well, fuck it. But we could talk about all those things, and they could be in place. Like Vincent Pella could do his job, the whole team could do their jobs. It could be wonderful. But if it doesn't work on day one, all that shit goes out the fucking window. And this is what I'm here. This, I think, across the board, this is what I think we all really do agree on. If it don't work day one, we're in the same spot. Battlefield's in the same spot. So as much as they talk about the marketing buzzwords and all that stuff like that, if it isn't optimized, ready, and in some type of stable condition for day one release, then we're in the same spot, and you've learned nothing. That like
exactly, because you're always going to get that first couple hours of the servers getting swamped.
Of course.
That almost
that's
always
anybody.
happens. But once the first couple hours done and things kind of settle down a bit, if people start going in there and all of a sudden you see people like shooting people on the roof when they're like pointing at the ground, and, you know, or going into the elevators and they're shooting them into space.
Oh my gosh!
Other nonsense, or all the stuff that happened. It always reminds me of the great video with 2040 when 2042 was released, and someone they tried their best to do like a shot by shot comparison of the trailer video of the guy by the elevator, and he's looking at his custom gun. He gets inside, and there's like the helicopters are falling down and stuff, and then he shows him on the computer version doing the same thing, and it was like 90% of the graphics were taken away, and he gets up there, and the first thing he does is get sniped. Out of the thing. It was just like, it's just
night and day.
It's just one of those things that I want them to do good. I never want to have like a bad game come out. I never want to wish that. But at the same time, the key to this is going to be not that the game works on day one, is if the community deals with it again, because they've dealt with it multiple times, and if it happens again and they all come back after 6, 7, 8, 9 months, and even more come after they quote unquote fixed it, there's no impetus for EA to fix it, because about 4 or 5 years will go by and they'll bring up the same dog and pony show again, and it'll just be a cycle and a cycle. I'm sure those 2K people know all about that.
Listen.
The 2K hive mind they're pretty content with their game. Every time I ask, they're all like, it's better than the last one. But no, I completely agree. It's something that I don't think it just can't last. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll try to, but in a realm where like 2K, there's only one option. There's almost a new shooter every month, it feels like, and at this point, a lot of people are really willing to let go of the old guard if it means something newer and fresher down the line. I mean, even that bit blockade game is a better BattleBit or whatever. Yeah, it's a better Battlefield game. It's so good. It's so good.
And if you want to go realism, Delta Force Hawk Ops, that's been getting a lot of heat. People have been liking that. People have been like getting onto that, and they're like, yo, this is actually a decent experience, and it's Battlefield like with the realism and all that stuff like that. So it's like, bro, you don't have any credit left in the bank. Battlefield does not have any credit left in the bank. One more, and it's just like we're eating up your market share. Whatever you had, you're giving it up to the rest of the people who are hungry and ready to go day one and ready to like go off the rip. That's it.
Because right now the indie space or you call it the AA indie space, the Larian Studio ones that have like AAA budget, but they're technically kind of on their own. You know, these companies now have tools. Like I could download Unreal Engine 5 right now, and if I knew what I was doing, I could start making something that actually looks pretty good.
True.
You know, and you know. So these AAA companies have to give more. They got to set the bar high. But if they keep on dropping that bar, somebody on the AA level is going to be like, "Hey guys, we may not have the same budget of them, but here's the core experience that you've always been asking for. Come on by." And guess what? Little by little, those groups are going to start coming on by and start dropping the AAA.
Yep. And the end of the day, if you build it, they will come, and that's becoming more and more commonplace in the gaming space, as you said, as access to more tools, and there's that incentive. And more often than not, you're gonna see publishers and whatever, and there's big studios, they're gonna see these experiences like, yo, this AA studio right here, they doing work. Let's just support them. Let's give them more studios. Let's pull a PalWorld on them. Xbox drops in, gives them more money to go do all the infrastructure stuff, and then they're built up, and you're just this AAA studio that we just know from years and years is just floundering, and we're not doing anything to save them because like we're not loyal to them. We're loyal to the good experience. So that's where we go to.
Like games like Helldivers and things like that, like man, they're gonna become more frequent, and that's gonna be a very interesting sight to the bajillion-dollar people. Like the mega yachts will quake at the at the rise of an 8-bit battle royale shooter, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look at what happened the last, like, say 2 years. We had PalWorld, which was this silly little indie game that took heavy inspiration from Pokemon and basically made art for Pokemon. That's really what the game is. People say it's a Pokemon game. It's not a Pokemon game. It's just art. Pure survival evolved with Pokemon characters. You know, and then you look at Baldur's Gate 3. People look at it now, they're like, oh, that's a big game. Dude, it was a CRPG. When's the last time I heard about the CRPG?
Facts.
You know, and then not only did it sell like crazy, like a big AAA game, it won like Games of the Year and a bunch of awards. And you know what Larian did? If they were a AAA company, they would be working on Baldur's Gate 4 right now. You know what they did? They gave the middle finger to Wizards of the Coast and said, we're going to do our own thing. And I guarantee you, they're probably going to go right back to their old series.
Divinity is going to be so good.
Yeah, and it's going to end in about 5 years from now. They're going to release it. And guess what? People are going to go there because Larian now took the mantle from a company like BioWare used to have back in the day, and everyone's going to look forward to their next release.
Yep.
And so it's just one of those things of these smaller companies are going to start giving the experiences and the quality of some of these bigger companies. So the bigger companies have no excuse anymore.
I agree. I fully agree. That's real shit. I'm like, bro, the perception is breaking. It's not just, oh, who's the biggest anymore. It's really who's the best. Because usually, again, in the past, it was whoever's the biggest was generally the best. That's fair. This is the point of access. Now that the resources are getting a little bit more faster and people can catch up to that top line of development, there's nowhere to hide anymore. If your experience isn't quality, we're gonna know. And we'll go to those experiences that are quality. And again, like we've been saying, this AA, indie, they've been delivering quality. AAA is the one that's been falling behind, trying to jump into trends, trying to figure out the formula for themselves and reevaluate where they stand. And it's crazy. It all comes back to this. If Battlefield doesn't have that core experience, it's gonna be fed to the fishes, man. That's all we know.
And the biggest nightmare for a company like Battlefield, It's not the people who are Battlefield fans. It's not people like us who just know the game industry. It's the guy who buys 2 games a year.
Facts.
Who barely looks at any gaming news or social media or any of that stuff, which is about like 90% of the player base. People always forget about that. Us talking heads and those idiots on Twitter, they represent such a small fraction of what the sales actually are. If they start losing that guy who's looking at that and go, man, I'll just watch an NBA game, or I'm gonna go outside and go work on my car instead of buying Battlefield because it sucks, it's game over.
Facts. Yeah. Facts. And even worse, you're in a time where, I want to play a game, I'm gonna go play Fortnite, man. We can just go shoot it up on there.
Free.
Yeah. And they're fighting against everybody because, again, consumers' taste is not gonna be that discerning if they're at that casual level. They're just gonna look at something to shoot. Fortnite got that, Battlefield got that. One game is free, the other game ain't. One game I ain't heard too much about, the other one's Fortnite. So what decision is that to them? Pretty easy. Exactly. Uphill battle, man. You gotta come with it. Honestly, man, heat out the gate in his first conversation. 5 stars. Rate this shit, man. Hold on. I'm about to say that. That's fine. Listen, man, I like that. Battlefield, we see. I'll give y'all glowing reviews if y'all give Wen his $90 back, man.
I'll use the $90 to make the same mistake a second time. If you give me that money back, I will not learn my lesson. Until that lesson learned,
bro, I'm a back pocket that question for Vince Zampella. When we meet him one day, I'm a back pocket that. I'm like, yo, can you just get his $90?
Please.
Oh man, but that's fair. Let's get to the other big piece of news from this week. We had a whole breakdown and a whole talk over the past several days about the PS5 Pro. There was a whole 10 or 8-minute breakdown with Mark Cerny about some of the tech and what it's going to look like. What we've all know, probably one of the worst kept secrets of this year in terms of gaming news. We have the PS5 Pro launching on November 7th. It's going to be a 67% larger GPU, advanced ray tracing, AI-driven upscaling, roughly 45% faster rendering, PSSR upscaling, fidelity game modes at like The Last of Us 2 of 60 FPS, Gran Turismo 7 ray tracing during gameplay at 60 FPS. The price will be $699.99. There's been a lot of divisive opinions about the PS5 Pro, but one thing is certain: it's selling, it's getting pre-orders. Apparently some of these things are selling like hotcakes, and the disk drive that's going to be like a separate accessory is selling like hotcakes. It was apparently outselling all Xbox consoles as of last week. So it's like, again, the internet wants one thing, but the people want another. It is what it is, but there's a whole lot of ramifications with this PS5 Pro stuff. Let's start with the Fig first. Fig, how do you feel about the PS5 Pro?
It made me laugh.
That's a good reaction.
Yeah, it literally made me laugh, because when I look at the PS5 Pro, I mean, there's the super logical side of me. They go, who is this for? Who is this? I mean, who is this truly for? And if it was somebody who really has the money and really, really wants a PlayStation 5 and doesn't own one, hey, go for the PS5 Pro. If you have the money and you never owned one, right? Go for it, right? The other group are the hardcore Sony fans out there who seriously need therapy. And they'll just buy anything. And then you have the people who are like collectors. They just buy all the systems because they just want all the systems, you know? But in reality, what this is, and the same reason with the PS4 Pro, when that came out, this was a market test for 2 things. One, to see what the community interest is in a more powerful machine. And 2, what is the market going to show them when it comes to cost when they price out their brand new machine? Because the line that people try to give, saying like, oh, it's just going to extend the life of the PlayStation 5, it didn't do that for the PS4 Pro. The PS4 Pro came out, and what was it, like 2 years later? Then you had the PlayStation 5. I guarantee you, 2 years later, it's going to be a PlayStation 6. So so it's not that. They're trying to find a way of like, okay, how much are we going to spend? Because you're not going to tell me that the PS6 is going to be weaker than the PS5 Pro. That's not. You can't say that shit. You can't say that. That'll be wild. So it'll be a situation of, okay, we got to make a system stronger than this PS5 Pro with new technology, and prices are going up worldwide, and we need to price it. So let's overprice this machine, see if the market is willing to pick it up. And the key is, it's not at the release market that matters, because those people who buy stuff at day one, those are the hardcore, those are the scalpers, those are all those knuckleheads. It's going to be the people a year from now, if it's still selling. That's going to determine where they want to price the PlayStation 6. So if you want to be part of a hardware test for marketing reasons, go right ahead. You know, like I said, there's this tiny group of people that is really made for everyone else. It's like, get that. And another thing they want to test, and this is something I don't see too many people talk about, it does not have a disk drive. It's all digital. The key is, will a community accept an all digital console? Hence, no more hardware. Hence, no more ownership of a CD or Blu-ray or whatever. So that way, people are willing to accept it on the PlayStation 6. It is a slow death of any type of hardware ownership. It happened on PC already. It happened for the most part for music. It happened for the most part of video. Gaming is one of the last bastions where people are holding on to that stuff. And if the PlayStation 6 doesn't have it on release, I guarantee you the Xbox, whatever nonsense they make up, is going to, not have it as well. Maybe an additional add-on. Maybe.
He's on the money tonight, folks. He's on the money. He's on the motherfucking money tonight. I want to focus on that one right there that you just mentioned right there, the physical media aspect. Because again, I already adding a separate pricing for that, like $80 for a DVD drive. That could be like 20. I paid $20 for my DVD drive on my PC like a few years ago. I paid $20 for that shit. They're putting that for $80 on a disc drive. 80 on a disc drive is insane. So the fact that they're already charging premiums for that, and the fact that most other entertainment industries have already outmoded physical media in certain regards, I completely agree. I think that we're heading on a collision course and a decision path of like, okay, are people really ready to give up physical media for good? This is like you said it correctly, last bastion, and this is the last stand we're coming up onto this next generation. Are we gonna accept physical media in our consoles or not? Is it gone? Is it fully gone? And I think I swear I saw a statistic the other day where it's like a large portion, it was like above 80% of gamers currently do not routinely buy physical media. It's already mostly digital stuff or digital only things or whatever. So I feel like the consensus already is gearing towards, we're not doing physical media anymore. We're not doing any of that shit. And one of the weirdest indicators of this to me was the fact that no collector's editions, or barely any collector's editions, have physical discs anymore. They just have like they have the trinkets, they have the little things in there, they have the little steel books, but no physical disc. No physical disc in anything. And that was the telltale sign for me. I'm like, oh, they really just don't care about physical anymore. They don't care about this. They just see it as that additional cost. They just don't want to push it there. And that is a whole nother macro conversation of actual ownership of your games. Do you have it? And seeing a random kind of a random tangent thing, but also seeing like the review codes or review copies of Concord being pulled right off of people's consoles, and they don't own it anymore. Like, it just disappeared like that. That bodes another big question of like, okay, how far does our ownership extend when we actually buy this product? Is it ours to keep, or as soon as something happens with it, or as soon as y'all might change your mind, it's not ours anymore? So it's a big like fork in the road moment with this console. And I feel like, again, you're right. I feel like for profit's sake and for them trying to again maximize their opening when it comes to the next console, and with the PS5 Pro, they're setting the table to see how far they can push not having physical and upping that price to open as well as they possibly can. And that bodes not well for us gamers, in my opinion. That doesn't bode well for us that enjoy physical media, that want to get back into physical media, that want to have something to hold on to, especially when we see instances where they can just take digital things away just like that. That's not good. And outside of that, again, I agree with you there. That was one point I did mention on Twitter as well. The pricing point feels like a real like baiting strategy of just like, hey, you know, how much do y'all really like the PS5 Pro? How much do y'all really like it for $700? Really? Okay, cool. And they just write it down in their back pocket while they load up the PS6. Like it's a proving ground. It's a proving ground for the next generation of consoles and how much we're willing to spend at this point. It's wild to me. And when you look at the 8-minute demo of this console, when you look at the demo, you're like, okay, cool. You have the ray tracing or whatever. You have the AI thing, the upscale images to 4K and do all this stuff. For those like 3 little points of the PSSR and whatever, I'm like, for me who already has a PS5, I don't need this. If you haven't even jumped to the current generation of consoles, how have you been surviving unless you own a PC or something like that? If you're into games at all, and like that, this is probably for you then. If you own a PS4 or PS4 Pro and you want to make a jump, like Fig said, cool, make that jump, do what you can. But for anybody who already owns a PS5, like I just don't see the inherent value in it right now. I just don't, personally.
And there's another thing I wanted to mention, and something that I was hoping you were going to touch upon, but I'll mention as well. It's the history of the video games, because think of everything that's built on the last 30-40 years when it comes to video games. Think of all the games that people have kept franchises alive, have demanded people for games to come back. There is no reason Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and that pack came back if physical media, the arcades, were not still being used by people in the basements, people doing making like stuff on I just forgot the program that people were playing online. What's that? Yeah, Fightcade. Fightcade and all that stuff. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 will never have been
free MVC.
Yeah, because the thing is that when you take away and you have full control digitally, that means the companies, like what happened with Concord, pulled it off. As much as people make fun of Concord, we may never see Concord ever again. The history of Concord should be kept and should be recorded more than just some YouTuber bash piece.
I agree.
Yeah. So that memory, because that's how future developers learn. That's how future gamers know what they want later on, is that history. And we all know every single one of these companies, as much as Nintendo tries to fake it, and as much as Sony and Microsoft ignore it, they all want the latest and greatest, and the old is just an anchor.
Oh yeah, 100%.
To buy the newest thing, and
100%. And we all know that deep. I feel like most of us who have looked into the game industry that much, they know they want to push people to the newest so they can get people off of the old. Because again, that's just, to them, it's just a whole service expense trying to keep the servers alive and keep these things alive for this older media and stuff. Like it's not serving their profits in the best possible way. To their inconvenience, it's actually preserving so much for the gamer, which is important to us. It should be important to all of us as gamers.
Yeah, because I'll mention one game right now. It's an old MMO. Some people might have heard of it, City of Heroes. City of Heroes was saved. There is a server that has been officially recognized by the owners of the City of Heroes name, that they're free. You can go play it right now. You can play City of Heroes and videos right now for free. And the only reason they were able to do that is because some of them had the physical discs and some of them had the digital discs, the digital copies, and they put them together to try to rebuild the servers. And you wouldn't have been able to do that without that. There's games, there's an old MMO that some guy put out there called oh man, I can't remember the name right now. But when I'm talking about old, I'm talking about like late 90s MMO, one of the first major MMOs.
EverQuest by any chance, or older than that?
Which one?
EverQuest?
Oh, way older than EverQuest.
Okay.
Yeah, it's way over EverQuest. Hold on, let me see. I actually made a video on it. It is called let's see. Crap, what's the name of that thing right now?
Hey, take your time, Pastor. You preach right now. Take your time.
No,
yeah, it's the thing is, it's Euserbius.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, Euserbius is one of the oldest Sierra. Remember the Sierra network?
Oh my gosh. That's something my older brother mentioned. Oh my gosh. Wait.
Yeah, from the 91, it was one of the first MMOs ever made. And it was basically a first-person dungeon crawler that had like a chat room thing, so people could talk to each other. A guy had a physical disc. He went back and remade it. Like he pulled the data, redid it, and put it on a free server. So right now, people could go to a website, download it, and there might be like 5-6 people playing, but that's not the point. The point is he kept history alive.
It's there.
Of that old game, because without something like the Shadow of Eusebius, there was 2 games he pulled, the Shadow of Eusebius and the Fates of Twinon, because Shadow of Eusebius and the Fates of Twinon are basically the grandparents of Ultima Online and EverQuest.
Interesting.
So if it wasn't for those, you would not have that. Heck, a multi-user dungeon, which is a text-based only MMO called Dragon Realms, is still alive today because people kept it alive and the server's alive. There's hundreds of people playing a text-based MMO right now because of that. So when these companies are wanting to go all digital, what they're really saying is we want to have all the rights to pull whatever we don't want anymore, because even happens right now, even on Steam, people put Steam up. All these companies have to do is delist. How many times do you hear about a game getting delisted?
That's too many times.
Shout outs to Evolve.
Oh yeah.
Pour a drink out for that. Classic.
Evolve and stuff. And heck, people were able to pull Evolve and keep that alive on private servers. But things get delisted all the time. So, but that's on PC. Imagine games that are only on console. Once that gets pulled on the digital form, it's going to be 10 times harder to keep those games alive, even if it's just for record keeping purposes that this thing existed.
Facts.
So that's for me, like, a lot of things have gone digital. Heck, if you're a PC gamer, you've gone digital. You don't have a choice. When's the last time you could walk in a store and even seen a physical PC game?
Yeah,
true. That's what sucks too. I love collector's editions, but I can never find one. Sometimes you don't even find them for PCs, because a lot of the ones that have a disc in them, like the ones that have discs in them, are for consoles, and it's like, I'm not buying another copy of this game. They don't
remember walking into a Target and seeing them fatback PC covers, man. Them fatback PC Sims packs and all that, man. They don't know about that.
Yeah, them fat World of Warcraft expansions. Like they literally look like expansions. I've never seen something so big.
Oh yeah, like there's the thing in World of Warcraft, just Warcraft, when they have the battle chest, like Diablo, the battle chest. It's just like have all the, those are gone. And heck, even in the physical copies, the art of instruction manuals that
used to be fire, bro. The Skyrim joint, the whole map was covered down. I literally had the whole map unfolded after the manual while playing the game, just to understand where I was at. They don't even have manuals no more. They have manuals. I'm like,
shout outs to reading those bad boys on the way home from when you bought the game. Like those that used to be. Oh my god. I used to take them to school with me. That's how much I wanted to go home and play the game.
Facts. And you know what, Fig? You're absolutely right. I feel like there's that conversation to be had about, again, just general preservation of games and just giving us the access to history, giving us the access to these things. I feel like so much disappears. Again, you talk about, if I want to draw a comparison and a parallel, like how some projects or whatever, a musical project, are like lost to time, and they might hear a sample nowadays or whatever, blah blah, and people can trace that back through the music. They can trace that back through the music. I want to be able to do that through games. I want to be able to find out, like you said, how EverQuest had a lineage, had those parents, and had things that they were influenced by. If we don't understand and have those examples and markers of history laid out in the gaming industry, how are we ever going to get better or improve in certain regards? Again, like you said, how can that next generation of people, how can the next generation of developers, the good game directors, artists, how can they improve if they have no base of reference to go back to, all the way down to the beginnings of gaming, to really truly understand what this shit is about, whatever they're looking for? Again, you look at fucking what's it called, one of my favorite games that's honestly not a great game, Brink is on Steam. You know what I'm saying? it got saved, and it's out for free on Steam so people can have it. I'm glad that that's there, because whenever I want to feel that sadness in my heart of what could have been, I'll go boot up that game. Another one, really again, one case I want to actually talk about in depth one day. Toontown. I don't know if people remember Toontown, but Toontown was that whole MMO that shut down. I couldn't even play that shit on my E-Machine's computer in the home when I was younger. I couldn't even play that shit, but it shut down. But then it got rebuilt. It's Toontown rewritten. A whole group of people came in and they took all the assets and stuff like that. They made a free whole environment with servers and everything. The game works like normal. There's expansions and all that stuff, completely free. And that can stand the test of time. This shit came out in 2003. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we don't have the access to build these things up, you know what I'm saying, or to at least view these things. If we don't have the access to view these things, that takes away so much from us as gamers. And again, what the PS5 Pro and what presumably the PS6 could be doing is taking away that, or starting a really big push to take that away from us in mass. Yeah,
I mean, years ago, Xbox tried to do that with the always online stuff, and you know what? They got away with it. Now everything's online. It just took one more generation after that. And you know, that whole joke that how did PlayStation 4 remember that whole thing of like, oh, this is how you share your used games.
The
shows the video
handoff.
When PlayStation 6 comes around, you can't do that.
They did crack down on that shit quick.
And if Microsoft keeps their CD, and if I was petty and they do put a all digital version only, I would have a version with a disc, and I would do the same damn thing if I was Xbox.
Absolutely.
This is how you share your disc.
Absolutely. I would not hesitate to do that shit.
Yeah, just to be petty, even if you only care about the digital version, just to have that on there in your machine just cause. But you know, and most people are always going to go for what's easiest. So we could talk about the history and whatnot. The average person, again, the person doesn't listen to podcasts, the person doesn't go on Twitter, all that stuff. They just know
convenience.
Battlefield just dropped. Let me download it right now.
Convenience factor.
And the used market is dead. You know, that's why you see all these mom and pop stores. A lot of them are having a hard time or closing down because they ran on people turning in old games and trading them for the new game and whatnot. Look at GameStop. GameStop these days is
shelling themselves.
Funko Pop.
And t-shirts.
Crazy. Turn into a hot topic for what? That shit is insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
So, also, if you want some breaking news, Nintendo officially sued Pocketpair.
Oh shit! What?
Yep.
Wait, what? They officially? Oh my gosh! Wait, no way! Oh shit! There's no way! There's no way they just do. Hey, yo, listen, breaking. That's really breaking news. That's really breaking. I appreciate that. Listen, he dropping knowledge and he dropping topics, bro. Listen, the 5 stars. This is 5 stars right here. I need to figure out where we at in this podcast. So I literally just pulled up and I saw the report right here. Dang, Nintendo with the Pokemon Company have filed a patent infringement lawsuit against the Tokyo District against Pocketpair. Lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that PalWorld, a game developed by and released by the defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. Nintendo will continue to take necessary action against any infringement of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand itself, to protect the intellectual property it has worked hard to establish over the years. Damn, I didn't think they was gonna do it. When? How the fuck you feel?
That is, man, honestly, I never thought I'd see the day. I genuinely thought that somehow they found a way to finagle the bagel and, you know, get their Pokemon-esque game on shelves. I don't know how this is gonna go though, you know?
Well, the thing is, it's gonna be very hard for them because there's 2 things you have to keep in mind. Is that when it comes to like patent rights and whatnot, you're looking at the Japan patent rights because both companies are in Japan. So every logic that you have about the U.S. and how we do things, throw that out the window.
Word.
Yeah.
So the thing is with here is that the courts in Japan have to decide, one, did Pocketpair, are their designs just straight copies of what Nintendo did? And number 2, can someone confuse a Pocketpair PalWorld game with a Nintendo game, with a Nintendo Pokemon game? And 3, why did it take Nintendo so long to make this injunction when Pocketpair was advertised over 3 years ago before release?
Facts.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting. Nintendo, I feel like, is really quick to shut something down, which is why it's wild that we're like almost a year into PalWorld lifespan, and now we're finally getting a lawsuit. Whereas like everybody else will get hit with that fat cease and desist the moment they even think about putting Mario on Unreal Engine 3 or whatever.
Yeah, because they can't, because Nintendo can't say that they own the patent on like Pocket Monster or like monster battling type of systems, because those systems have been around before Pokemon even existed. Heck, one of the old Shin Megami Tensei games that predates the games of Pokemon had like monster collecting battle demon things.
Yep.
So that concept has been taken. They can't copyright that. But so it's gonna be interesting. But also what this could be is Nintendo just basically covering all bases and saying, let's see how much we could get out of Pocketpair and reach an agreement and have it legally done, type of thing. Saying let's get it all legally done. Pocketpair might have to change stuff, but now with Sony investing all this money, because remember, both Xbox has invested money in Pocketpair, and Sony just invested money in the marketing side of Pocketpair.
They did. They just created that whole joint venture studio to expand their properties and IP. Yep.
Exactly. So it's a thing now that has Pocketpair reached a certain level that they're like a Digimon type of thing.
They can be differentiable.
They could be different. So they could say, hey, you're similar, please change a couple designs here and there of some of your characters and call it a day.
That's fair, but you know what, I feel like you're right. I feel like maybe it was them waiting for a certain amassing of evidence, or them trying to bide their time on what's it called, compiling the right set of assets that they've seen in the wild or whatever, blah blah blah. But Nintendo are definitely, they're gonna try their hand. If they're gonna do one thing, they got the audacity to try their hand in court. They gonna do it.
I mean, they already did it in China. They shut down some other group in China that had some like mobile game. But the thing with the mobile game is that thing was a straight Chinese that was a rippity rip. And Nintendo shut them down quick, and I think got like 15 or 30 million dollars in the settlement.
Damn.
But here's the thing, the game made estimated $80 million.
Oh my god!
After the settlement, those guys shut down the game and still walked away with
still some cash on them.
40
Jeez.
So I don't see Pocketpair getting shut down by this or closing by this. I see more of a situation of, hey, where does Pocketpair stand in the echelon of stuff, and maybe they got to tweak a design or two, and that's it. But expect the internet, who has the legal knowledge of a dense rock, to all of a sudden cry that Pocketpair is about to get shut down.
I can't wait for the Luffy PFPs to tell me to school me on Japanese copyright.
Shout out to that native Japanese lawyer from Dayton, Ohio. You know what I'm saying? shout out to him for giving me this intense legal knowledge that he knew about from Googling it when he was 3 years old in a public library in Ohio. Man, thank you. Appreciate that.
If Assassin's Creed Shadows taught me anything, the most authentic Japanese person talking about legal jargon is somebody pretending to be Japanese who lives in Montana.
Like, we appreciate you, man. Like, we knew you knew your stuff when you was riding horseback with the mountains in the background, the same area where Kanye was doing that album, bro. We knew you was on to something. Like, what are you talking about, bro?
Yeah, that thing fucked me up. I'm like, it didn't happen once, it didn't happen twice. It was like 4 or 5 different times. That's
crazy. I'm like, how consistent can y'all be? Like, bro, I couldn't pick any other group to copy off of. Like, damn. Like.
Yeah, it's weird. Internet is a place of stupidity and weirdness. That's
it's baffling, man. Listen, the PS5 got a hard call. We ain't gotta talk about that no more, bro. We did. Listen, make sure y'all rate this shit 5 stars. I'm double serious. You think I was playing when I said this man was dropping topics and knowledge at the same time? Listen, man, we appreciate you, Fig. That's all you need to know, man. But let's keep pushing on. Let's get into the quick bites. Let's talk about some of our smaller stories here. Try and run through them as quickly as we possibly can. Let's start and talk about a game called ByteBreakers. ByteBreakers is a battle royale platform fighter And this was a whole crazy story that kind of popped up over the past week, where a studio by the name of Odyssey Interactive, they were kind of starting a project, and they have a project in the works called ByteBreakers, of course. And they were like, hey, so we have this game and we're gonna put it out into a public test. If you guys like it, we'll keep developing it and pushing it through. If you don't, we're gonna stop right here. This is it for us. So they dropped it, more people got into it, they were enjoying what they were seeing, and you know, they got a whole play test out, got some feedback, and we got some looks at it. Interesting concept of meshing a battle royale with a platform fighter. Just very cool concept. Haven't seen too much of it before, I don't think, but yeah, let's start with Wen. How do you feel about this, man?
So here's the thing about me. I am not a fan of battle royales. I've played enough battle royales in my lifetime. If I never play another one, I think I'll be fine. I have been really into Multiversus recently. I think I can officially say I'm back on the Multiversus wagon. I'm actually enjoying my time there. These are two games I don't think I ever really wanted to see combined. But but the thing is, it's kind of like, oh man, I'm trying to think of like a good analogy, but it's just like seeing two things that really shouldn't, I don't think, go together. I think it could work. I do think it could work. There's so many things in my head, there's so many negativities in my head of like balancing how this game, what's the lifespan of this game, how can you keep it going. But I do remember like playing back on those Flash games on like the irongames.com, like those like arena shooters, and I could see something similar of like having that same amount of fun of just like picking stuff up and just going bananas. And the game does look really fun. Will I be picking this up? No. Like I said before, I'm very much over the Battle Royale franchise. I don't really need that in my life anymore. This kind of seems like 2D Rumbleverse, if you remember.
Yeah,
remember that classic?
Another, hey man, listen. As a wrestling head, that one had me for a hot minute. It had me for a hot minute.
We needed to buy the physical copies of Rumbleverse because it surely missed.
That's gone now.
Yeah, that game is done. But like something like that, I could see this getting some spins. I love their like, hey, we don't want to waste our time. Like being very frank, just hey, if this sucks, please let us know. Play it a little bit, you tell us. I also think it's interesting that we're kind of at an age where like playtesting is no longer like a career anymore, because now they realize, hey, if we just make the game free, everybody will playtest it for us. And it's really, all you have to do is pay somebody to sift through the good and bad data. Like that's all you really need to do these days. But I do like their approach of being like, hey, let us know if we should even keep working on this, or if we're wasting our time.
100. Fig, how you feeling?
I think it's an interesting concept. It's not something that I'm going to like, because I was never a big fan of Smash, or like, and I'm tired of Battle Royale, so this is like a double negative. On my side. My only worry, just on the dev side of things, is that sometimes the internet will be excited for something that they'll never buy. So hopefully that these guys, if they decide to move forward, hopefully they're getting feedback from all different angles, and they generally get people who want to like buy the game, because it could be a situation that everyone gets hyped, everyone gets good, and then everyone goes, oh, that was just a mode. I'm not gonna spend $40 for a mode, you know, and next you know, those guys are screwed. So I hope the best for them, but I also hope that, you know, people aren't just getting hype and giving them hype information and not like real data, which the internet tends to do.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. And I feel like a lot of that, like what translates through is, again, the gameplay, the marketing for it, and that consistency and upkeep in terms of the engagement and stuff, how they capture fans and such. I think the concept here is, again, separate, very annoying. The platform fighters and the battle royales alike have their annoyances. Of course I like platform fighters more, just how it is, but combined, that is a very interesting concept, especially with the 2D, especially with the semblance to, again, a Smash, where I feel like people will actually say, oh shit, that's actually kind of cool, that's actually blah blah blah. If they map out certain things, like how does the zone come into play, and and have those tweaks, character differences, if those are melded correctly, this could be a pretty cool experience. But again, it comes down to that consistency with the fans and the engagement. Whether, okay, do you guys think this is actually something that you would play and purchase and get into, or you're just saying, oh, I just wanted to get the playtest and I'm fucking done, you know? Like, is there more to it than just that initial playtest and getting through it? I hope there is, because I think this could be an interesting concept. I'm not saying I would spend all my time with it, because I definitely certainly won't. Are there things like solos, duos, or whatever trios in that playlist? A question I would personally ask that would help up the fun and maybe consistency of playtime. I would not want to jump into this solo, and this is not like a mindless Call of Duty thing. I have to really concentrate if I'm getting my ass beat, so having somebody with me would make the experience more enjoyable. Outside of those things, I mean, it looks interesting. Again, it's just marketing that to really have a very appeasing product on the eye, the characters, the world, how you make it look and feel, because that's what's really going to draw people in. Again, I hate to bash it, and I've been bashing it for a solid week and change because of another video I did. But again, Concord was not the most striking on the eye. It was just cookie cutter to some people. So it was like, oh, whatever, it's just that, toss it to the side. Can you have something that's striking enough on the eye, but it also has the depth and the concepting and the gameplay loop to draw people in and keep people there? That's really my two biggest things. And if people are gonna bullshit you, you know. But I agree, could be an interesting game, could be an interesting thing. But moving on to the next game here, we had a quick note about Skate that is finally going to be launching in 2025 in early access, and apparently console playtest will begin later this year. Had a bit of gameplay to go with it, but we're finally hearing some more traction that Skate will happen to launch in 2025. Fig, how do you feel about that?
I'm looking forward to this. I wish the team, because you could tell that this is not something that the team got a lot of budget. You know, this is something like they got enough budget to get it done, and they're trying to make the best out of what they got. You could tell EA is not 100% behind this.
Yeah.
So
no,
but at the same time, it seems like the people who are behind this actually do want to make a good game. And Skate is weird, because the best part about Skate is not just like doing the missions and whatnot, it's all the weird stuff. It's the
facts.
When people look back at Skate, what do they see? They
Hall
look
of
at,
Meat.
you know, yeah, exactly, the Hall of Meat.
Hall of Meat.
They look at people like flipping on their skateboard, hitting like an NPC, and the NPC goes flying 50 feet in the air.
Facts.
You know, they look at the weird scenarios, so they gotta have to, you know, hit that middle ground of like, hey, let's make a good game. But if they make it too tight and not have a little bit of, I won't even say jank, but just kind of just like let the silliness go, you know, it won't hit as hard. But I honestly wish them best, because I truly think the team is actually excited to do this, but they are definitely put on like on that shoestring budget type of look by Mr. Zappella.
Yeah, 100. I feel like, yeah, the EA's focus is elsewhere. But again, this is like one of those situations, honestly, where it's like, I'm not saying it's like a Titanfall, but it is in a certain situation where it's like they don't get all the budget that they want, they don't get all the resources that they want, but if this idea kicks off, this could really bring some great standing and just momentum to the brand as a whole. And again, everybody's been waiting for Skate. I've been waiting for Skate for years, you know. But the funniest thing is, we've been waiting so long for Skate that there are now competitors coming into the sides, and who knows whether they're going to hit or not, you know. Because there's another game called Reckless, which is basically the same concept as Skate, but then they're from a group of indie devs, and I think a lot of them were from the Tony Hawk project, the early Tony Hawk games and stuff, and they've basically doing like a sandbox 40 player, like, again, sandbox mode where you can just create stuff on the fly and do different tricks and run around and all that stuff. So competition is starting to creep in, you know.
I mean about 2 years ago, I played a small indie game, I forgot the name, but I played a small indie game which was basically like Skate, except it wasn't as silly, but they were trying to be like that more realistic, like if you do more of a grind for like 3 feet, you actually did something crazy, you know. So I mean, and those were fun. But you know,
was it called Session or Skate, or was it like Skater X? I think I know what you're talking about.
Session? Skate XL. Skate XL.
Yeah, Skate XL. That's what
Skate
it was.
XL. Yeah.
It was one of those, because I was looking at it too, because I remember there was like that hole that Skate and Tony Hawk left is still very much there, but what Drip said of like there are other competitors, even like something like, oh my god, what was that game that we saw on the Game Awards?
Skate Story?
Parcel?
No,
not
Parcel
that
Cord.
one.
Parcel Cord.
Yeah, like games like that where it's like, and that's more of like, I feel like it kind of is more akin to like a Jet Set Radio, but like if Skate wants to still be the leader, they are kind of slow to the draw. But what I will say, even though they are on that shoestring budget, sometimes those games that are on that shoestring budget from EA do come out as bangers. Like those passion projects from EA.
Yep.
Like
again,
Titanfall really
Titanfall
good.
2 is just in the cut. They might not have got everything, but they got enough to make a crazy banger. You know what I'm saying? They got innovation on that side. They got some passionate devs who made some heat. So I'm like, I don't rule out this being an absolute banger. Everyone wants it to be an absolute banger, but I don't rule it out based on the constraints, because they're getting this constant feedback. I think them being really in a big loop of playtesting from now, I feel like that might have been a difference. I'm curious to know how much real like direct playtesting other games get compared to this, because I feel like it's been in consistent loop of feedback and playtest alphas, all that stuff. It's been a really big wave of communication, like an open, like Panama Canal vibe. It's been mad open between EA, the EA team who's making Skate, and everybody who's been playtesting this game for I feel like it's been like 2 years now. I feel like this has been a really, really big wave of playtesting, and I feel like that is guiding them through what they want to see. So I hope that all that feedback, and I think it is good feedback because it's been that consistent where it can filter out some bad shit, really focus on the game. I think that can lead them to the modes, the experiences, the looks, and the gameplay feel that we all want to see.
Exactly.
Yeah, that I hope, man. Hope for the best of Skate, man. That's all I hope for. But yeah, we can slide on and talk about some news that we heard earlier today. There has been some listing on a bunch of different stores online talking about Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. It has been listed for a PC and PS5 release, and again, this may indicate that they could be a part of the State of Play show that is on the way at some point in September. We expect one from Sony in December, and we've heard some word that it may just talk about mostly third party stuff and smaller announcements, nothing crazy. So Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, we've heard a lot about it so far. Fig, how do you feel about this, man?
I feel the same like I felt about the PS5 Pro. I just looked at that and I was just like, I kind of looked. I'm dead serious. Like I was scrolling through my feed and I looked at it and I just went, oh, that's some shit. And I just kept on going. like I mean, the game still look. I literally have it on my PC and I boot it up and it's still a beautiful game. Like it's like I was like, it's like remat. Like why? Bro. Like what are you remastering? It's kind of like it's for me right now. It just feels like kind of a waste of time by the studio to do something like this. Oof. And my biggest fear is that, remember we were talking about delisting and whatnot, that when this drops for something like PC, which there's already a version out, they're gonna delist that old one for the remaster, and now instead of you picking it up for $20, you gotta pick it up
right back to 60. That's how it go, man.
Nasty business.
Yep.
Yeah. When you're a man of few words about Horizon Zero Dawn generally, but
my words are always the same. Man, I really gotta tap into this. I feel like I'm missing out. But maybe now that it's being remastered, you know, an old classic from the 2017 era, such an old game.
Oh my
gosh. Maybe this will be the push I need. Maybe making it more expensive and making the graphics slightly better is what's gonna get me to tap into this PlayStation classic. Yeah, no, I will not be picking it up. I definitely still own the first one as well. I own the second game as well. I don't think I'm gonna be buying it. Like, you know, I just wish they would remake, and maybe they're always just trying to remake games that are like critically acclaimed or really, really good. But I miss the games that I would love to see remade are like the PlayStation games that nobody really played that much, but I thought were good. Like, I want them to call me up specifically and say, hey, what do you want to see? Because then I'd be like, give me a remake of State of Emergency 1. That game was heat.
Hey, but no, tighten up and give me Patapon, man. Tighten up.
You know, like, give me something good, bro. Give me something good. But it's like, nah, let's remake the game that you already own. Like, thanks, PlayStation.
Yeah, get State of Emergency. Just make sure you remaster that ska music.
Exactly. Give me blow up buildings for bonus score. That's what I want to hear. That's what would make my soul happy. I would buy 3 copies of that game, but no, I will not be buying Horizon Zero Dawn again. I'm pretty good on that.
Remember what that Sony exec said recently that got him like straight laughed at? That he was like, "Oh yeah, no, Sony doesn't have enough IPs."
We talked about that.
Yeah, and I mean, just what cracked me up was like I saw like a TikTok of a guy going, he was like, "Oh, Sony doesn't have enough IPs," and the rest of the TikTok was him being silent, staring at the screen while games like Siphon Filter and like and SOCOM and all and all the Sony properties were just flashing on screen, and it was like a minute, and each one was up there for a second. It was just to really emphasize like. He's sitting there not saying anything, but he's saying a lot.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is certain things, and I'll get into it. So just to speak on Horizon, listen again. I don't mean to be that guy, but it's like Horizon ain't like that. Horizon is a fantastically pretty game. It's a fantastically pretty game, which defeats the purpose of a remaster in the first place. Like, bro, we have lauded on this podcast. We have lauded this game, this series, this franchise for being very, very aesthetically pleasing on all consoles it's been in. The work of the team has been fantastic to make sure it looks good on all consoles. Even PS4, whenever the second one came out, I was like, yo, it still looked good for a PS4 game. Actually, it's decent. They did work to optimize it for whatever console it was on. So you take that one thing and you just say, even though it's good on every platform it's on as it is right now in 2024, make a remaster. Fuck that. You're good. Yeah. But don't worry about that.
I can't wait. I can't wait until the next game from Horizon gets remastered, so all the weirdos on the internet can complain about like the girl, the hair on the girl's face. Alo's
freckles crazy. Alo,
look at those freckles, and I'm just like, man, you've never been up close to a woman's face ever in your life, have you?
Honestly, bro, they have it, bro. They have it. It's wild to me, and it's like, bro, Horizon again. Doesn't need it. It doesn't need a remaster at all. And this is the thing that gets me, because I've seen it, and this is basically just the whole. I mean, it's pretty much their theory that like it's just a cash cow model that they're in right now, bruh.
Oh yeah, this is design. This is design. Like
this
every
is 100%.
It's going to be like 3 years from now, we're going to get another remaster of the other Horizon. You know?
Whenever they finish that TV show that I don't know, their TV show got canceled. I lied. Whenever the next big iteration is there, you know what I'm saying? They'll have a remaster or something like that pending, because this is what they do now. And just like you said about that guy talking about how Sony has no IPs, I think again we talked about this last week or a week before. I think what he means is, we don't have enough IPs that we have in this model right now. We have God of War, that's an Omega cash cow right now. We can do whatever we want with it, and it's gonna go crazy. When this TV show goes up, it's up for y'all. When his next DLC or whatever goes up, it's up for y'all. We're gonna have stuff out the wazoo for it, but it's not really all the way there yet. Last of Us is that cash cow. Whatever we do, HBO show, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Last of Us Part 3, Last of Us remastered on top of the remastered Day Zero edition. We got that for you. They are a cash cow. Uncharted was that cash cow before. They want these big, ever-present, omni-channel IPs. They want these omni-channel presences. That's what they want. They want that.
Of course, because that's what Sony is. Sony is, people keep on forgetting when they talk about PlayStation. PlayStation is a part of Sony. But what they also forget about when they also forget about Sony is that Sony is almost always on the verge of bankruptcy, and the PlayStation is pretty much the only thing holding them up.
Yeah.
Facts.
So like if they could just do like what they're doing with Last of Us and turn it into marketing and turn it into TV shows and all that stuff, that puts every single division of Sony putting together on that one game. So now, if they could do the same thing with God of War, same thing with Horizon, all that stuff, they're gonna do it.
Exactly.
And they're looking at IPs that are gonna fit that mold. And SOCOM, there isn't going to be a SOCOM TV show. There isn't going. They might be able to pull it off with Siphon Filter, but Siphon Filter doesn't hold the name anymore. Exactly,
and unless they're gonna surefire invest almost hundreds of millions or like tens of millions of dollars to try and make sure this is a hit off the gate, like Concord, which is, again, if you look at the bare bones of Concord, it already had like, again, millions of dollars worth of Hollywood-esque motion capture and all stuff like that. Had a whole slot on the secret level show that's coming out this year. They wanted that to be the next cash cow. They wanted that to be the next cash cow so bad. They wanted it so hard. Oh my gosh, they were praying every night to make sure that's a cash cow right there, and it flopped tremendously. And now they're scrambling to figure out what's next. You know what I'm saying? They want IPs that fit in that model, and they don't have enough of those. When if they just try to at least divert maybe a little bit of that attention to say, hey, let's focus on either making new IPs that are a little bit more digestible in nature, or bring back, you know, again, you could do a Sly Cooper collection or whatever. You could do a Killzone, Resistance, Little Big Planet, whatever. These things that can, if translated properly, can have potential to boom again. But nah, let's just remake Horizon, which didn't need one, and slot that next to The Last of Us Part 2 redo number 5. Like why do we need to do that, bro? We don't need that. But again, they're gonna push that until the ends of the earth because that's their strategy.
Well, of course. I mean, I heard one guy saying and it was a great term. He says, if you know the history of how a lot of media works now in the modern era, it is Star Warsification of video right now. Yeah. And I don't mean modern Star Wars. I'm talking about the original Star Wars. Yeah. Because people forget when the original Star Wars first came out and it blew up, which wasn't expected that to happen. They made most of their money from merchandising, but merchandising wasn't really a thing in the 70s when it came to stuff like this. So the toys were delayed. I mean, if you look at the original Star Wars toys, they were crap. Now real quick to get something out there for the kids to start playing with. And that's when they realized, hey, if we turn this to a show, if we turn this and make toys, if we make games, that will make more money than the movie ever will. And guess what happened when the 70s ended? Guess what happened in the 80s? When I was a little kid and I was watching G.I. Joe and He-Man and Thundercat, She-Ra, every single one of a Rainbow Bright, Strawberry Shortcake, all those shows.
They had the toys and shit.
Little boys or little girls, it was a freaking 30-minute commercial, and they literally had to make a law, and this is true, they literally had to make a law saying that you cannot play a commercial for the toy while the cartoon is playing. Because they were literally doing that. You would watch you would be a little kid in the 80s watching an episode of He-Man, and every commercial was advertising the Battle Cat, the castle, a He-Man with like destructible chest, blah blah blah, Skeletor toy, and then it went right back into He-Man. And what happens to a 5-year-old watching that? All of a sudden, that kid wants nothing but He-Man.
They want that shit.
You know? I mean, think of in something a little bit more modern that maybe some younger people in the audience might recognize. Remember what was it that one cartoon where the guy went into like the Nintendo world and had like fake Mega Man and Simon Belmont.
Oh my gosh, was it Ready Player One or am I tweaking?
No, Captain N. Captain N, the Game Master.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was like something in the 90s. They literally couldn't say the word Nintendo in it because of that law. So they basically, that's why they could say all the characters, but they couldn't say the word Nintendo, even though everything in that world was based on Nintendo.
That's wild.
So look what's happening now. So now Fallout's got a TV show, and it's done well. They made a good show, and they're doing all that merchandise. Last of Us has got a TV show. They're trying to expand it and do more of that. They're going to do the same thing Horizon because they realized if they got a hit game that they could turn and make all their other parts of Sony work in tandem. The music side, the TV side, the movie side, all basically the game division will lift all ships from all the other divisions and make more money. That's what he's talking about. They don't have the IPs because SOCOM is not going to do that for them.
Nah,
they can't Star Wars the guys. SOCOM.
And you know what? Damn, I just made the connection. And sometimes that's why I feel like we know whenever they say Sony games are like, oh, they're so Oscar baity or whatever, blah blah blah. Maybe just maybe the development mentalities of some of these games, some of the executives on these games want to put them in more of like, a mocap, slightly closer to as they want to make it, or they could have the mentality. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying this is just like what I'm thinking. They could have the mentality to where they make these games in a way that, of course, is a quality game, quality experience, quality narrative, whatever. But they have so many Hollywood-inspired processes about them that is easily transferable to Hollywood itself. Like entertainment, whatever, movies, TV, merchandising, consumerism, blah, blah, blah. But again, Sony's the home of that narrative. Sony's the home of, The Last of Us. It's literally a tale about real life. Again, like the God of War, it's mythical, it's fantastical, but these characters, like they're real life model characters and not freaking psychonauts or whatever. It's like hard to translate, or animation, where again, Hollywood just doesn't seem to like that. A lot, if not all, of Sony's major first party titles and properties have that level of, we can make this a movie if we wanted to. And I feel like that bleeds into their business model. That bleeds into the mentality of how they approach games now, especially at the top level. And again, it starts to cause a little bit of like crazy discord when it's like, we don't want Concord, bro. We don't even know about this shit. It's not even a fun game. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not even like a crazy ass game. Like, and people are kind of getting on a tightrope with that. They're either on one side or the other with this shit. So it's interesting. But again, at the end of the day, the point and the truth of the matter is, Horizon Zero Dawn is not like that, bro. It's not like that, and I don't need a remaster from it. That's all I'm saying. We don't need that one.
Yeah, I mean it's a great game. Some people might like it, but anyone says the game is bad, it's just lying. The game is solid. It's a good game. It's just not. It just doesn't have the Last of Us.
Agree. It's just not the best at what it does in most categories, and that's okay. You can still be a good game and not be the apex of a certain category of what you do, like it just is what it is, bro. Horizon, you was solid, man, but I don't need a remaster, bro. You look fine, you look good already. Man, well, we can slide on here and talk about this next story real quick. So Flappy Bird just returned out of the blue. I don't know what prompted this, I don't know what spawned this, but apparently it was a little bit dubious, because while Flappy Bird was teasing all these brand new levels and unlocks and all this stuff like that, the apparent creator of this game, Flappy Bird, the original creator, the one who was going through all this trauma and that was very sorry that he unleashed this hell upon the world, he was like, bro, I don't support this. This is not me. And apparently there's a company called Game Tech Holdings LLC that took the IP and started to just make stuff happen. So they threw in-game transactions, NFTs, all this stuff into this game, and they're just making this a huge return to form but cash grabby underneath the surface, man. How do you feel about this news?
Disgusted is what I feel about this news. One, I don't know, outside of being in high school and literally just wanting something to do with my phone, I don't know why the Flappy Bird effect is kind of crazy, because I thought it was just a hard game. I thought it was cool amongst like me and my friends in high school. I didn't realize that like it would be this thing. I'm sure this plagues this creator to this day. He's like, I wish I never created this game. But on top of that, what is with these people? What is with these sick bastards taking something as small as this and doing something grimy with it? Like, this is so weird, like plotting on the Flappy Bird scam, on the Flappy Bird come up is kind of bananas in 2024. Yeah, it's wild. When I saw it came back, I was like, oh, cool. Maybe I'll download. I probably won't, but I was like, maybe I'll download it, whatever. And then seeing that there is like backroom deals being made, like there's some nasty business practices, I'm pretty good off the Flappy Birds. It wasn't all that. What's the microtransactions in Flappy Bird? That's what made the game cool. It was just a dumb, stupid game that was fun. Like, what is going on with people, man? Is it that hard to get real inspiration? I just don't know, man. I just don't know.
What I'm waiting for, since we just talked about Nintendo suing Pocketpair, what was all over that Flappy Bird? Mario pipes.
Yeah, very true.
I want to see the comeuppance of Nintendo going, hey, that thing had and basically Nintendo suing the company before the guy who actually created the game got sued. So the guy who created the game gets missed, but these NFT bros get hit by the Nintendo hammer.
100.
So-
That would be hilarious. This is the one time where I would actually want them to go through with a lawsuit against a smaller game company. I would love for this to go through, honestly. At this
The
rate.
one time we pray for the Nintendo lawyers.
Yeah, facts, though.
The one time they're heroes.
Yeah,
Facts.
we're waiting for Phoenix Wright to pop up any second now.
Fact.
No
Objection.
objection.
Sit that at now, boy. Yeah. Honestly, man. But yeah, this is some scummy shit, man. This is some scummy shit. Do you know how long they were probably waiting on the license to expire, like the copyright
Oh,
thing to expire?
they were sitting on that because
Oh my gosh.
supposedly, I think I saw a report that supposedly like a day after
Nah.
the thing lapsed, they bought it.
Wow. Nah, that's insanely money hungry. That's insanely scummy. That is
Yeah, and this
insanely
is-
scummy.
And he never reached out to the original creator or anything. So when people thought, oh, hey, because people originally thought, oh, maybe
Yeah, the OG guy
if
had
this
to
guy
change the
had
heart.
these issues, maybe he sold it and maybe he's just kind of like getting like some royalty, like founder
Mm-hmm.
money. He gets nothing.
Mm-mm.
Gets jacked because he technically
Sick
does
work.
not own the property anymore.
Sick work, man. Sick work. And the craziest thing is, he didn't even want to own it in the first place. It would have nice to give him some money though, but like, damn.
Yeah.
They said, yo, we don't need him, brother. We're about to run this racket, bro. Y'all get on the ride. That's crazy.
I just can't comprehend this, you know? Like I just can't comprehend like being like, yo, I got a big brain plan. It involves Flappy Bird and a lot of patience. Like this is so
who the
wild.
fuck masterminding this ad from Ed and Eddie? Like, really, like was it Eddie? Did he do this?
This is a half court shot in like a D1 college level basketball game. Like it's like cool, but it's not.
The people behind this got jawbreakers in their back pocket right now. They trying to go to Ralph for a play. They're like, yo, what's going on?
I mean, people hunt for those copyright stuff to break. I mean, sometimes it ends up being funny. Like, you ever wondered where what's it called? Was it now not Sprite? What the soda Starry?
Yeah.
Like the soda that basically it's the same
Sierra
thing
Mist?
of- Sierra Mist. Like, what happened to Sierra Mist? Have you
Yeah.
ever heard about that?
No.
Basically, some TikToker was named Sierra Mist, and Sierra Mist themselves reached out to her saying, hey, you have our name. So she was like, okay, and then she went up to look for the copyright and realized they never
renewed it.
copyright for Sierra Mist.
Oh, that's
So
tough.
she was like, oh, you want to play this game? She basically filed for the copyright and got it, and she goes, oh, you're gonna sue me? I'll sue you right back, bitch. And that's why we have Starry.
That's
literally why we
crazy.
have Starry.
I never knew that. That's
That is
insane.
bananas.
That's tough,
So-
bro. You gotta play the game, man. You gotta be up on. You gotta be
Yeah.
up for that, boy. That's crazy.
And
Somebody
she
got
said she
fired.
wasn't like she said she wasn't even hunting for that.
Yeah.
She just picked the name Sierra Mist because she thought it was a cool username like for her thing.
Yeah.
And and they when they came at her, she was like, okay, like what am I gonna do? Some girl in her late 20s who makes like skits on TikTok versus the Pepsi company or whatever.
That's crazy.
Like,
Yeah.
like what is she gonna do?
Big
But
W's.
She found a way.
Big W's, man. There's a lesson in this. Check y'all damn copyrights, man. Check y'all damn trademarks, people. Make sure y'all file that. If y'all in the US PTO, do what y'all need to do, gang.
I mean, that's why Nintendo's so sue happy. People always wonder why Nintendo's so sue happy because the way our laws are in the States, if you're not protecting your IP, you're setting yourself up.
100.
So it's it's one of those things. But yeah, it's super scummy, and I'm glad that the information got out. Unfortunately, those people are probably just going to get away with murder because I'm sure the guy who owns Flappy Bird doesn't want to go through the hassle.
Oh yeah, he don't even care.
He doesn't want to have any exposure. He hated that life. And this will just open up a can of worms again.
My boy's on a goat farm and stuff like that. He don't want to see no birds in real life. He just chilling in serenity, bro.
Off the grid forever.
Yeah, and he made bank. People forget that Flappy Bird was making, I think they said between $10,000 to $20,000 a day.
Yeah,
at one point.
He was cooking,
So-
but it got
And
to
it was
him.
just him. So and he's like some young guy. Yeah, at that time he was just some young guy in China. So he's probably got like a couple $100,000 in the bank, and he's like, I don't want to deal with this life anymore, and he's good.
Pro. You know what I'm saying? And good on him, man. If it was getting too much for his mentals, man, walk away. You don't need to stay with something that's stressing you so much, you know? Crazy.
Yep.
Crazy work. But speaking of crazy work, we had a whole nother like just breakout story over the past week. I was surprised as hell at this, but Annapurna's staff, Annapurna Interactive, the people behind Stray and a bunch of other dope titles, their staff just resigned. Poof. Gone. They were all out of there. Apparently there was some negotiation with another company, Ellison, to spin off their division as an independent entity, but Ellison did pull out. They wanted them to stay with them and make other games and make bigger games, trying to go into the AAA space potentially. Again, but all the entire staff, the original devs, they were like, nah, we're gone, bro, peace. And they all just left. And again, Ellison said they still plan to continue and support their partners and expand their presence for Annapurna, but they do not have the manpower anymore, or at least not the original ones. Fig, how you feel?
Good. Like we don't know the full story. We don't know all the specifics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if we got to this point, this was bubbling for a long time. And with how volatile the industry is right now, they probably looked at the writing on the wall and saying, hey, if we start agreeing to all this stuff, all of our heads are on the wall. And it comes down to the simple rule of, if you are not the owner of that business, you are dispendable. So they were like, hey, we rather peace out than deal with you and whatever nonsense that you're up to, you know? And that's tough, because, you know, it's a lot of those devs probably are looking for work in the game industry and stuff, and it's hard because everyone's getting fired left and right. I mean, Microsoft got rid of like another 700 people, you know, recently. So it was like I think the Activision Blizzard people, a bunch of them got like axed. So for them to do this means that something bad, because when I think about like supporting devs and stuff, I don't care about the publisher. I don't care about the heads. I don't care about the studios. I care about the guy who's logging in day by day, who's working on like the coding and the modeling of the stuff, who's just trying to do their dang job. And if they're resigning, something was up.
Facts. It looked like the main thing was like, oh, the 25 people in the staff, they were trying to get the company spun off, or at least their piece of Annapurna spun off into something else so they can keep doing what they were doing. And I feel like that came down to a creative difference. I feel like personally what it looks like, it came down to a creative difference where the kind of the bigger heads, again, like, which is crazy also learning through this article that I didn't know that Larry Ellison's daughter, who Larry Ellison's like a big tech owner or whatever, he owns Oracle, his daughter runs this, like she's just there, like there to, you know what I'm saying, talk about it, whatever. And it's interesting. I feel like it did boil down to that creative difference, in my opinion. If they're just gonna resign straight up after their talks of spinning off as a company failed, I think it was them saying, yo, listen, we don't want to go into the space that you're trying to go into. We don't want to deal with those things that you're trying to deal with. We want to keep the process of what we're making pure, and what the core of it, those 25 people who are working day in, day out to make these games happen, they didn't want to budge on that, and it was worth quitting for. And you know what? Again, more power to them, and I pray they find the work that they so deserve in this space. And it's so hard, again, when you're living your dream and you're living your passions, you're working through your passions, and you're at a wall where somebody else's interests interfere with the passions that you have. It's such a very, very, very tough situation to be in, but more power to them for taking a stand on that and not budging when, you know, something didn't break their way in that. And, you know, again, just taking a stand on that. It's so hard nowadays, but respect to them, and I hope the best for all 25 of those people who resigned from Annapurna, man.
I wouldn't be surprised one bit if like a bunch of them get together and just make their own little indie studio. 100.
And then more than likely they'll be back to churning out something fire, man. So listen, we know.
And when I read this, it was one of the things that dawned to me was like, maybe Annapurna was becoming too big, because like I felt like maybe it was starting to get to that realm of like, all right, this is now going from like a business with a goal to becoming a business of trying to be the best business. Kind of like an EA type of thing. And I'm happy that people got out with it. I'm happy they did it on their terms too, because like this reads to me a little bit more better. Well, reads better than Annapurna fired everybody on the staff.
I mean, you think about companies who are on the other side of the coin that wanted to stay more independent and kind of do their thing. You look at Pocketpair, who just got sued by Nintendo, and you look at Larian, you know, Pocketpair, many times those guys, they literally announced that they were not going to turn PalWorld into a live service game. They were going to turn it kind of like a No Man's Sky, that you buy the game and they're going to do updates over time, because they didn't want to put themselves in the position of running a live service game. They knew, even though they got a ton of money, they knew their limits, and more importantly, they knew what they wanted to be. Literally, the owner of Pocketpair said, I didn't want to be a AAA company. I wanted to make indie games.
Yep. It's real.
You know.
And that's real stuff, bro. It's like when you know your core identity and you know what you want to stand for, you're not gonna bend over backwards for certain things when you have that vision in sight. So I stand on that. I'm proud that they took that stand and didn't let the sway of whatever kind of budge them or let them flow with the wind. I'm glad that they took that and, you know, doing what they do, man. Not letting their creative passions or visions get skewed because of the interest of suits at the end of the day.
Yeah. At the end of the day, and it's that's a tough thing to do, because it comes down to like money or passion, and sometimes passion doesn't pay the bills.
100 man, but I hope all of them land on their feet. They land bigger than before they made that jump. And yeah, man, more power to them. More power to them. But we can start to move on here and talk real quick about The Sims. And again, there was a huge investor conference with EA over the past day, and we heard some news about The Sims and how there's no plans for a Sims 5. Apparently the Sims 5 project has just been axed completely. There will be no sequel for The Sims 4. The Sims 4 will continue to receive updates, paid expansions, and an upcoming multiplayer mode will be introduced at some point, or a multiplayer experience that I believe that is now Project Renee. That is what will happen there. There's apparently plans to make a whole entire Sims hub, but you know, as far as we know, The Sims 5 is not happening, and Sims 4 is just staying where it's supposed to be. It's staying right there. Nobody's going away from it. Interesting conversations there. But how do you feel about No Sims 5?
I'm not really happy about it, mostly because like I know one thing that I loved about Sims 3 was that you didn't have to load into every single thing. In Sims 4, at least from my time in Sims 4, because I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm a Sims fanatic. I haven't played it in a long time. But one of the biggest gripes people had was, one, how much the packs are gonna be, and it's them going from, hey, buy a new Sims game, to being like, we're just gonna keep releasing packs. It's a little bit it feels like they're just gonna lean more into making it $50 for it to snow one time. Like that's what it feels like they're kind of heading towards. It's already basically a free-to-play game, because anytime I see that game, I think it's free. I think it is free to play now, right? Or am I tripping?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Because for a long time, it was always like, oh, it's on sale for $5, and it would be on sale for like 8 months out of the year. Like that's what it felt like they were going towards, is like they're making Sims live service. But I don't really like that Sims 4 will now be the end-all be-all version of Sims. I think Sims could use a good amount of upgrading in terms of certain aspects of it. Them adding multiplayer is cool. I think that's great. But I definitely think that Sims, similar to 2K, is one of those games where it's like the lack of competition is really what's hurting this franchise. Because they don't need to innovate if they're the only ones in the area. And I know that there are some Sims games coming out that will be similar to Sims, but will they have the money to compete with a Sims? Will they have the experience, the knowledge, like all this stuff? And I think they have a really good shot, and I'm really excited to see what those games turn out to be. But it is going to be a dark time. I mean, it probably already is a dark time for the Sims fandom, but it is going to be a dark time for a while for these people.
Yeah, where I hear it. I chime in real quick with one to say, I think a big reason that The Sims 4 is just like, one, not going no damn where, because of the mod support, because of the modding community, because of how deeply entrenched creators have been with The Sims 4. I feel like that's been a big thing. And, you know, again, the fear of them having to restart all of their progress has been a big thing. I think the Sims community, more than a lot of others in gaming in general, has been very attuned to creators and custom creations and stuff. And apparently there's been talk of making storefronts and really publicizing the creator packs that people people make, and putting them in giving them visibility to be purchased and to be bought, and support whether other creators. I think there was talks of that. I can't confirm that fully, but I think there was rumblings on that online as well. And it's just like, again, you think about me personally, my examples go to Mira, Ebonics, and people like that, who are like, they create these packs, they create a lot of these things, and changing the entire infrastructure and skeleton on them to go to Sims 5 probably wasn't the best financial decision or the best creative decision from some of the Sims people. So I can understand where some of it comes from. It's just a little bit sad where I'm like, damn, there's no Sims 5 at all. Like, damn, like, I know me, if I see a new title, I'm like, okay, cool, I can tap into what's next and what's going on. Me personally, I haven't played Sims in a long time. I do enjoy the Sims overall, though. I got love for that series. When the multiplayer's there, I will jump in, because multiplayer, again, a co-op Sims, that's what I've been waiting on for a long time, just to operate in the same space and do like a bunch of shit with other people in that lobby. And also, the other thing I want to mention, there is competition on the way. Again, I've heard about this thing called Inzoi. I literally heard this from my sister, who plays the Sims like all the time. She does like this thing from Korea called Inzoi that's like mad in depth. Like, there's potential on the horizon for that to be competition, but yeah, we'll see. They're making a play for continuity in this point in time, especially because of apparently this is talk of, like, again, a Sims hub where all their stuff goes into and goes through. So making a new game and then making the Sims hub might create a couple of fractures that they're not ready to account for when they're making this new Sims hub thingy. So I can understand why it's there. Do I like it? Probably not. But as long as I keep that multiplayer, whatever. Keep making the multiplayer, and we'll see what happens after that. I don't know. Fig, any words on this?
The Sims 4 is the Destiny 2 of life Sims, except they make money.
I can see it.
Understand.
Yeah, so that's basically, I mean, everyone said, basically kind of like my thoughts on it, but it's just that the EA looked at the writings on the wall and said, hey, this thing is a cash cow. Mm-hmm. Every time we put out a pack, people buy it in droves, no matter what we're doing. Why do we need to make a 5 and rock the boat? Mm-hmm. We could just keep on improving 4, updating 4, and then when the tap is dry, then we'll drop a 5 and then restart the whole thing over.
Crazy, because it's already been like damn near 10 years. It's been like 10 years since Sims 4 dropped or some shit like that, right?
Yeah, but the tap is not dry. That's for sure.
Yeah, the tap is not dry. I mean, it's and I made that Destiny comparison because we were supposed to get Destiny 3 by now, but that ain't happening.
No, not now. Not especially not now, brother. That shit is in the dumps, boy. They put that in the incinerator. That shit is not happening.
Yeah, that is not happening. So, but it's like, with Sims 4, I mean, I like you guys. I haven't played Sims in forever, and I have nothing against this. But I think the Sims are a fun game and all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but it is probably one of the most egregious nickel and dime.
That is true.
Charging you $30 for like a whole set of new clothes, which is nothing but a palette swap on their side. Mm-hmm. And it's wild because they'll make hundreds of thousands of dollars every single time they do it. I mean, and I don't even think that was the intention when Sims 4 dropped. They were just going to treat it like any other Sims game, mm-hmm. but then people kept on buying packs. And they kept on putting 5 on the back burner, and it was one of those games that went in with the intention of being a game with expansions and then turned into a live service.
Mm-hmm. 100%. I think people taking to the expansions, and then the mod community definitely like just doubled in and saying, yo, we can't change shit. We can't change this shit now. People are too ingrained into this DNA right now. They're too ingrained into the formula. We cannot move it.
Well, also think of it this way, like you said, your sister plays like the Sims 4. I mean, if she's bought those packs and stuff,
she's gonna be pissed. She'd be pissed.
Yeah, dude.
And it doesn't have like 90% of what's happened over the last decade into that game. People will be like, I don't want to get Sims 5 because it has nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's gonna be Overwatch 2 Part 2.
Yep. No, it's true.
I just spent $40 on winter. Now there's no winter, and I gotta spend another $40 on winter again. Exactly. Like, no.
100%.
or they could just do a thing of like, hey, we're gonna do a Sims 5, but it's just gonna be an upgrade of Sims 4 and have features that are optional.
Yeah, they could do that, but I feel like
that'd be too consumer friendly though.
That's that is too
they'll charge for it.
Yeah, they probably would charge. They definitely would charge out the wazoo for that type of shit. Yeah, I feel like it's just out of their interest right now. I feel like they're like, oh, we'll just wait for the next console generation and see what happens if we make a Sims 5. We'll see if there's enough of a gap in what we can actually improve on the game without costing us too much, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and like I said, there's not really a big Sims competitor. There's that Korean thing. And, the people who made City Skylines had something in the works, and they canned that because City Skylines 2 fell flat in its face. You know?
Yeah.
So who else is doing anything like it? And you think that genre could be massive.
Yeah.
There's so many pocket monster games, so many first-person shooters. The Sims have been living on their island for such a long time.
Dominance. Oh my gosh, it makes literally they've been dominating for at least 20 years. It makes no sense.
I would put them in. If you look at like certain genres, they're probably, without even close, the most dominant single series of a genre that the industry has ever seen.
Oh yeah. Nah, I pound for pound, I will put them up there. They're probably top 1, top 2. There has never been a time where I've been like, and there's been a competitor to the Sims of like, oh yeah, let's go play that instead, or was that? No, Sims has always been the number one conversation. There's not been anyone that's even relatively close for most people in there. Again, a man of culture, I'm not even looking at humans. I'm going to Thrillville, man. Fuck all that other shit. I want roller coasters. I want coasters, baby. And even they got some humans in there, but still, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, Sims definitely dominant, and they're probably not going to stop for a while given this news fairs. But we can talk about some other news real quick and about some hirings. Some people trying to get on the payroll, and not just any payroll, the Armor Core payroll. You know what I'm saying? The FromSoft payroll, because we've seen some new job postings jump up, and one role and some specific specifications of characteristics has asked for experience in mecha design, and it appears that the expertise in mecha design is welcome because Armor Core is not finished. Armor Core may have some more life in them yet after Armor Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. How y'all feel about this, man?
I really liked Armor Core. I liked Armor Core a lot, even though my stream will say otherwise because I stopped streaming it. I really enjoyed the game because I spent so much time designing my mechs and picking out the best loadouts. I think it would be sick, but when it comes to FromSoft, honestly, they're like one of the few companies where I just let them cook, because whatever they're gonna give me is something that I kind of trust. I just like let them go stupid. I hope it's another Armor Core game, and I kind of wish more people gave it more of a fair shake, because I don't think that many people played that game, even though like it was like right off of like the Elden Ring hype. And I know that those are two very different games, but it was like, damn, like when I see a good game from like Capcom or something, well, not Capcom, but like when a company that I don't normally engage with makes a good game, I generally keep my eyes open for something new that they might make, because it could be interesting. Like I remember when I played Borderlands 2, I was really interested in that Aliens game. Thank God I didn't buy it. But I was keeping tabs on the Alien game because I was interested in it. Yeah. But no, yeah, I hope that this is what I think it is, because I would really enjoy it. But I'm also like, I'm gonna let them cook, because for all we know, it could be for the Bloodborne remake, or Bloodborne 2. You never know, there might be mechs in that. not trying to stir any pots here, but
so listen, if y'all put mechs in there, fuck it, I'll take mechs. Just put it out.
Anything at this point.
Yeah, like I'm happy that Armor Core 6 did well, because from last I remember, they actually surpassed 3 million units sold, which by far is the most that series ever sold, like by magnitudes, and it was a good game. So if it ends up being a series that, like, say once a decade they pull out because they have a strange itch, I think people will be happy with that. Because obviously they're gonna put their money, their big stuff into, like, you know, an Elden Ring, Dark Souls type of game. But this is a nice little like in between thing that they could put out every once in a while. It can't be as often, but every once in a while they could put it out there and it will do well, and they keep that series alive, which has been a beloved series for years, something that people asked for years, and they just updated it. Is it as hardcore mech building detail like the old ones? Absolutely not. If some of these people only played 6, went back and played like 3 and 4, their head would explode. It's like it was super like you controlled the freaking like pressure of the suspension and water usage in some of those things. It was nutso, but they made it in a way that does well. But for me, if FromSoft was going to bring a series back, it's probably a game that the vast majority of people have forgotten about or never heard of. But it's a first-person dungeon crawling game, one of FromSoft's first games, Kingsfield.
I'm unfamiliar with the game. Let me.
Kingsfield. It came out on the PlayStation, and I think they made one for the PlayStation 2. It was Kingsfield 1, Kingsfield 2, and if you think FromSoft started being hard when it came to Dark Souls, it is nothing compared to Kingsfield. Kingsfield was a first-person dungeon crawling, melee focused like game, going to dungeons, fighting like evil plants and monsters and wizards, and that thing was hard. That thing, like, they basically had that same mentality of poison everything could kill you in 2 or 3 hits if you weren't ready. You went through that dungeon step by step by step, and you would get wrecked. Probably one of the hardest games on PlayStation 1. You know, and a lot of people who knew the field kind of feel like Dark Souls, actually more like Demon Souls, was like the evolution of that series, except they put it in third person.
Okay. No, it's wild. No, definitely. I'm unfamiliar with the game. I'm gonna tap it. I just seen a video on 3-hour retrospective. I might have to deep dive. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing my week.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy series. They only made 2 of them, but you see the skeletons of what Dark Souls became from Kingsfield. And if they ever decide to revisit that series, and it's a first-person dungeon crawling Dark Souls type of game, that could be fire. Except you can't dodge roll. You got to beat those dashes, because rolling in first-person game will just make people dizzy.
I'm gonna throw up just thinking about it.
Yeah.
No, interesting still, but hey, listen, FromSoft at this point, again, they're the company in the industry with the hot hand. Right now, they can do no wrong, and they've proven they have a good track record, and they've proven that they can take things from, again, years ago, like Armored Core. They can start building on the formulas like the Dark Souls and whatever, and build an Elden Ring. They have the hot hand, so whatever they're putting their time into, I'm sure it's gonna be something quality. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. But looking forward here, well, looking at it right now, actually. Multiversus, a game that Wen is apparently back into. He is back into fully. Their season 3 is underway and upon us, and we have new characters joining into the roster. Of course, Nubia from the DC universe, and the Powerpuff Girls, who are all just one entity, beating the hell up on people and jumping people like they usually do, but just in video game form. They have joined the roster. They are now a part of the game. Let's take it to the person who's most likely played Multiversus recently. When literally as of probably like a day ago, I saw you playing that shit. So you may have seen them, you may have not. What do you think of the new season? What do you think of new characters? Talk to me.
I think I beat Mojo Jojo in my hate for the Powerpuff Girls. I think he holds nothing on my I hate those 3 little girls. They are the bane of my existence. They're super strong. They look like a lot of fun to play. I have this rule where like I don't play the new characters until it's been like I want to say 1 character out. So whenever Nubia drops is when I'll play the Powerpuff Girls. Really, really fun. Well, it's not fun getting my ass beat, but it's fun watching them beat my ass. They have a lot of like, they're very brawly. Their combo game is bananas. Each girl has like, it changes the moves because you could swap between who's the main one, if I'm not mistaken. Like it is so interesting. Their design choice for this character is so interesting, because I can't even compare it to like a Pokemon trainer, because this would be like if all 3 Pokemon were out at the same time, is what it feels like.
Somebody called them the Thrice Climbers, and I was like, yeah, nah, that's a version of hell that fits. That's a version of hell that fits.
It is awful. And like, mind you, I'm playing Agent Smith. I'm not sitting here saying I'm picking a character that needs a buff or anything like that. But my God, when those 3 little girls just start jumping me, I don't know. I pray Mojo Jojo gets his way. I hate the professor. He's an awful father. How did he raise these 3 degenerates? But all in all, really good addition. I'm really happy Multiversus is still kicking. Like the more I played of it, the more, because I started playing it because I didn't own Marvel vs. Capcom. Like I was just like, I need something new to play, and I don't want to spend money, so I'm gonna play this. And honestly, it's been a fun experience. I think that the game in and of itself has its own identity. It's not super fast like a Melee, but honestly, for somebody like me, that's like kind of refreshing. Sometimes you're not trying to be super intricate with the inputs and whatnot. Like it works for me. If you're somebody who wanted something really, really fast paced, this may not be the game for you anymore, but I still think it is definitely worth a look. But all in all, this new season is really fun. The Powerpuff Girls are really, really strong. Unfortunate for me and my ranked climb, but all in all, definitely a good addition. I can't wait to see what the next character is what Nubia is gonna be like. And honestly, shout out to Multiversus. They might be fine. You know, like I used to be like, oh man, Multiversus is gonna die. But like, nah, honestly, I think it's gonna become one of those games where like, if you like it, you're gonna love it. If you don't, you're just gonna be a hater from the outside. You know. But I think it's gotten a lot of people have. I mean, it's just this day and age of like, if you don't like the game, you have to hate it. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts in this day and age. Like the conversation of like, this game could be better is non-existent. It's either mid, which means bad, or it is the best game ever made. Yeah, it's peak.
You know how they always say like the computer state, they're always watching you and all that stuff. We're literally talking about Multiversus, and I just got an email from Multiversus about the Powerpuff Girls.
Hey, listen. Like, you playing it, right? You playing it, right?
No, I mean dead ass serious right now. Hold on, let me post that. This is literally a clip. I'll post it right there from the email. Look at the time, 8:43 p.m.
Nah,
that's bananas. Yeah, they definitely listening.
Just popped up on my email thing, and I looked at it and went, God dang it.
Hey, listen, eagle-eyed, Shia LaBeouf wasn't playing what he said. Oh shit, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Listen, it go how it go. But yeah, I need to actually get into Multiversus. But you knew more than me on that one, so I was like, hey, listen, you gotta let you ride.
For sure. I feel like when it comes to fighting games, best believe I have some kind of insight.
100%. But yeah, that's fair. That's the Multiversus report. We can talk a little bit in the trailer trove. We only got one major story in this section, of course, talking about more watchable media, the TVs, the animes, the movies, and all that good stuff. We only have one from the past week and change, and that's Venom: The Last Dance. We had like the big, I guess, close to final trailer, if not the final trailer for the movie, coming out, I believe, this month or October? I can't remember which one. Well, whatever. It's coming out soon. We have thoughts. I have thoughts. There's a lot of thoughts going around about this movie, the last ride for Tom Holland and not Tom Holland, damn it, Tom Hardy and such. But Fig, how did you feel about the last trailer if you were able to watch that?
It seems okay. I haven't seen any of the Venom movies themselves. They seem fine for what they are. Like I kind of put them in that category of like, these are these Sony films that they don't have the full contract from Marvel, so they can't like throw in, Spider-Man directly, but they could kind of sort of reference them. And it seems like with Sony films, when it comes to superhero, if it isn't Spider-Man, the rest of their superhero films are kind of trash, like Madam Web and all that type of stuff. And Venom seems to be something that's in that alright category.
Not fair, so. Yeah, no, 100%. I'm just like, I'm surprised, but you know what? Slightly delightfully surprised that Venom has made it this far as a movie franchise. You know what? You got 3 movies out of me. You know what? Fair. So I'll clap it up for you. You made it this far. I'm just like, they talked about this in a little bit of detail because there was a bit of a fit about this, but apparently Null is just going to be in this movie in some way, shape, or form. And I'm just like, how? Okay. we're just throwing him in there. Apparently Norman Reedus is just gonna be No, and that's just gonna be a thing. And then the creators of No, the little like the comic people who made him, they were just like, I didn't know this motherfucker was gonna be in this movie like that. I didn't know who was gonna be there. But Sony didn't tell us. Yeah, Sony didn't tell us what happened. So I'm just like, that's interesting, Sony, whatever. But also I'm just like, I'm just here for the ride, man. I'm just here for the ride. I'm just here for some of the shits and giggles at this point. I've made it this far. I've watched 2 movies. I like Venom. I like Tom Hardy enough. Fuck it. Let's just go for the third. Let's go for the trifecta and end it off on a high note, I guess.
Yeah, I watched the trailer and I didn't watch not one of these movies. I watched my one favorite YouTuber who does movie reviews talk about it, and that's my only experience I've had with this franchise. And when I saw this trailer, I was like, you know what? That's it. We're locking in. We're gonna watch the first 2. I feel like I've heard enough. I need to go check it out for myself. So yeah. I am kind of excited, but first I gotta actually catch up on those 2 movies. But with the power of drugs and alcohol, I'm sure I will breeze through those bad boys.
Prepare for slight amusement and considerable disappointment, but you know, it'll be all right.
Oh, best believe I'm already disappointed, and I haven't even started.
So you'll see what happens when you cross that bridge, man. You'll cross that bridge. But let's get into the rest of these stories for today. Let's start with a quick one, really interesting one. I know we might have covered this a little bit, maybe not, but Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is on the way October 11th, and with that, there's been a new interview in the past couple of days talking more about the customization options in custom battle, including all the player positionings, camera movements, poses, facial expressions, and a whole bunch of things you can tweak with. And apparently you can add scripts into these custom battles, subtitles, and choose from roughly 5,000 pre-selected lines for your cutscene. So a lot that the created community can mess around with in this game. How do you feel about this?
This looks like one of the games that is built for every kind of Dragon Ball Z fan, because they've showed me that trailer where they were like, we're focusing on the combat, and I was like, okay, I could kind of get behind this. Mind you, I always say this, arena fighters to me are just party games with extra steps. I never really considered them huge fighting games. It just doesn't make sense to me. A lot of it is sometimes too simple, but I know that I'm being elitist. My take is very much my own. When I saw that they added this in there, I was like, okay, they're not only trying to attract the Dragon Ball Z fans, obviously, they're trying to attract the FGC community by saying like, yo, the fighting is way more complex than it used to be. And on top of that, if you're somebody who is here just for story, we got you. And if you're somebody here who is here to make their own story, we also got you, which I think is amazing. I'm really, really happy about seeing this level of quality putting it into a mode that honestly would have just been like a simple mode in any other franchise. Like any other game would have just been like, hey, this is just a little mode we added in. Like I would have never expected something like this in like a Jujutsu Kaisen game, right? Or even I wouldn't even expect this into something like a Naruto game. But you can really tell that they're like, yo, we are trying to make hopefully this is like the new era of their arena fighters. Hopefully this is like, we're going to set the quality of what anime games are going to be, and we're really hoping that you enjoy what we got planned, because I used to literally make fun of these anime games because I always thought that they were a waste of money. I was like, man, there's no way that they are actually trying to work with the fans. And man, shout outs to them, because this Loki, and dare I say it, this anime arena fighter looks like some quality work, which is a statement I never thought I'd say.
That would have been a sacrilegious statement. That would have been a crazy statement. That 2 years ago, when would have came in the room and smacked you if you said this shit.
Yeah, and I used to be like, man, I can't believe you guys are gonna buy that anime game, but I myself will be buying the anime game. I know, crazy.
Oh man. So Fig, how do you feel about so many updates about custom battle and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero?
I think it's great. I mean, I kind of feel that Dragon Ball is such a massive property, and the games in the past were beloved. You know, even though they were janky in their own special way, that they couldn't mess this up, especially if they're bringing back the Tenkaichi, kind of like, Budokai name. attached to it as well. And on top of the unfortunate passing of Toriyama, that adds another layer that people don't don't screw this up.
Yeah.
This is going to be your love letter to him. This is your chance. And the fact that they announced many times already, which I am enjoying the argument between some of the FGC folks and the people who just know how the old games work, that this game is not going to be balanced.
Yeah.
I love that.
Just accept it.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, no, it's just, this is not a hardcore fighting game. This is a game that if you want to piss somebody off, pick, Goku, Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and someone comes with Mr. Saturn. Mr. Saturn better be amazing because he's about to get crushed. It's just one of those things that it's all coming together. And also, I think they learned their lesson with Dragon Ball FighterZ. That one thing people asked for years was a Dragon Ball game in the style of Marvel vs. Capcom. And when they finally gave someone the reins to make that game, and they did it well, it was like one of the best-selling Dragon Ball video games.
Facts.
So they're like, okay, what else can we pull? And they're like, okay, here's another franchise that people are beloved. If we put some quality into that, that's probably going to sell like gangbusters. Because the other anime games, let's be real, the other anime games are just a lot they put out there just to get some quick money from the weirdo fans who buy anything from that series. Like you look at that Jujutsu Kaisen game.
Yeah,
there, that thing looks like hot dog water. So, but there's going to be an audience that's always going to buy them because that's just how it is. You just put out some trash, and even if you put out only sold 100,000 copies, there's a couple million that you just put in your pocket that probably cost you like a little bit. You probably just took the same engine from the past 12 One Piece Naruto games that you made, and you just took it in there and just changed the palettes to make it look like these characters and called it a day.
100.
So I mean, some of those anime games still look like they're from the PlayStation 2 era. But yeah, that's what it is. It's I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be fun, and I just like that it's not bound. Like, I like that it's a game that Dragon Ball fans just want to have as a power fantasy silliness, and not something that's going to be hardcore. Especially when you go online, because it's just going to be. If you're going online thinking that you're playing Street Fighter or Tekken,
bro,
you're going in for the wrong reason. If you're going in there just because you want to yell on the mic KOK and while you're Goku and just laugh, that's what this game is.
Facts. You get your head screwed on tight. It's just, at the end of the day, I feel like this is one of the quintessential series and fandoms who just want power fantasy fun. This is nothing beyond the fact that we want ridiculous, over-the-top power fantasy fun to either reenact some of the best moments from the franchise or to create our own with our friends. This is the simple fact of it. Dragon Ball giving us the tools to customize things and the tools for people to create stuff in the community and share it between each other. That only adds to that power. That only adds to that desire that everybody has. We want to see moments. We want to see over-the-top ridiculous moments. Again, I'm sorry, you're probably gonna see it, but when Frieza gets all these lines about him being a space racist to all these damn Saiyans in this custom game, it's gonna be a crazy battle to do, but it's gonna go viral. People are gonna enjoy that shit. It's like, yo, it's just a part of the meme zeitgeist. It's just what it is, y'all. I'm sorry.
All I'm gonna say though is that just because I know how the internet runs, if I play that game and I see someone playing Frieza, I'm turning my mic off.
Yeah,
I know exactly what that person.
You know what's coming, brother. You know what's coming.
You're like, he's like, who's the bigger racist, the player? Or
You know what's happening. Like, you don't even have to guess. There's no guessing games needed with that type of shit. But again, it's just the fun of it all. The fun of it all. The mini games, the what if sagas, the battles that you can get into. Again, people choosing Yajirobe and you're choosing Omega Shenron and shit. Just the dynamics that you can create in this game. It adds to that fun factor. And that's what it is at the end of the day. This is about fun factors. This isn't about balancing. This isn't about, again, like super crazy skill gap or whatever, and knowing text and knowing all that stuff to the whatever. Those things can be involved to some degree, but the main thing is making this a true to life power fantasy that emulates the epicness that is Dragon Ball. And they're adding everything to make this game last a long time and be very well received by the fans. Everything that I've seen in terms of from roster to gameplay additions to the presentation to the modes, that has really endeared me every time I've seen it. Again, I've said this every time it appears on the podcast. The more I see it, the more I'm impressed. So when October 11th rolls around, I will be there. I will be there to enjoy, because they have a really good case.
I just want to spend an hour having the fusion dance between the dumbest characters.
Facts. We need it, man. We need it. I just want to run. I hope down the line they add Devilman, because again, as a native OG to this shit, I love OG Dragon Ball characters and just all the ridiculousness that was. So I need to see a Raleigh. I need to see what's it called, Tao Ping Ping. I need to see General Tao in there immediately. You know what I'm saying? That's my main. I'm running smoke with him, and then I'm gonna need like a General Blue or some shit like that. I don't know. Like I just want to see ridiculousness, man. That's all I want, and I'm gonna have fun. But I think the Dragon Ball team, they understand that. The guys behind making this game, they know that, and that's why they're delivering something. And everything that we've been seeing so far has been stellar to me. Stellar.
Yeah. And one thing too that Fig, you brought up that I think is really interesting, when you were like, it's not going to be balanced at all. As somebody who's just picked up Marvel vs. Capcom, it's really funny because like even a game that is played competitively like that is super unbalanced for a lot of the characters.
You play like four niggas. You play four characters.
Exactly. Like, there's like 3 characters that are broken as hell, but because everybody like enjoys the game to its core, it still can be played competitively, which is something that I think can also happen with Dragon Ball Z. Like, you guys could probably, you will play those people who are going to be playing like the super strong meta builds or whatever online, or you'll get the people who are playing TN and just trying to vibe out. And like, that's the beauty of it. Like, you will find joy in this game.
Yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom. If I go on there and I see someone immediately pick like Magneto and Storm, I'm out.
Oh my god, yeah, it's over. I'm not playing you. I'm just gonna play. I'm gonna go back to playing by myself. Thank you very much. You won the game. I'll give you the dub. You can put it on your scorecard. I'm out of here.
I'll go online and I will challenge. What's his Justin Wong's name?
Yeah, Wazzler.
Yeah.
I'll go on there, and my only mission is to knock out one of his characters. That's all I care. I don't care about winning, because I'm not going to win. I just want to knock out one of his characters and say I did that to Justin Wong.
That's more than most. It's more than most.
That'll be the top of my thing. That's all I played Maximilian, dude, a long time ago on Marvel vs. Capcom, and I beat 2 of his characters, and he got me in the last one. You know what? That's good.
That is a win.
That is a Marvel game in years. I'm good with that.
I'd make a plaque specifically for that achievement. Like, I'd find something like, I need a custom-made plaque. I need this written on it, and then I'd find him again and be like, can you please sign this back? I need it for my wall.
Oh yeah, and you know what's the best part about with the whole Wesley thing with Justin Wong? I saw a video from Max and I was watching it, and they were like fighting each other, and of course Max was like, I'm gonna get dog walked by Justin Wong. Yeah, like you go Max is good, but he's not that good.
No, not freaking the best player in like 7 years. It's nasty. It's almost unreal.
Yeah, it's almost, and the best part about it is that Max was like, your mic has been on this entire time, like your regular, like not us on Discord, but just like the game mic, and Justin Wong didn't know. So he was talking all of his crap about uninstall, return the game, why did this and he didn't realize it. Talking all this crap. He's like, Mike's like, did you know you're probably telling people to refund the game? He was like, Justin was like, I'm sorry, but yeah, maybe you should.
No, yeah, that Justin is a different beast. That's what's so funny about him, is that he's like brutally honest, and people are like, oh, he's funny. It's like, nah, he's kind of a jerk, but it's funny.
Oh yeah, it's funny. I'm like, but like it's the same thing. Like, I played a long time ago Street Fighter Third Strike back in the 360, and if you know like Cali Power, another like OG of the fighting scene, I fought against him. I almost beat him. I knew I was gonna win. This is a guy who plays in Evo. He's like one of the the top heads out there, and I was just like, you know what? That's good enough for me. Like,
Yeah.
there are certain levels to this game, and me just getting close is fine by me.
And it's just the fun of the fight, man. It's just the fun of the fight that you can get from that, and that's a rare feeling. Even though I'm not good at fucking fighting games, that's the essence of it. That's like, yo, it's super endearing to anybody who really gets into them, bro. Just the essence of like you really in the mix with motherfuckers, bro. And again, when it boils down to it, I'm there October 11 when this shit dropped, bro. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Yes,
I'm here to fight. I'm there to fight.
Yep. Oh yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and you know, I haven't gone to a fighting game in a while that, you know, give me that feeling of how, you know, just having fun and goof around. And kind of like how we're talking about Marvel, I'll share like a really funny, it was funny at the time. Back in the day when I was a teenager, I went by this arcade and they had Multiversus Capcom 2, and they had like 2 cabinets because it was like super popular, right?
Yeah.
There was this dude who was just super good at the game, kept on just dog walking everybody. And I remember this guy came up in a giant trench coat looking like from some weird weeb trench coat hat guy, walked up there and they played. The guy spent probably $10. He didn't want to get up the machine, trying to beat the guy who was really good. Couldn't beat him. Finally, the guy who couldn't beat just said, he just turned and goes, "Leave. You're trash."
Oh my gosh.
So he leaves, and I'm playing the game, and everyone's just kind of laughing at the whole situation because the guy was weird. All of a sudden, about a minute or so goes by, and the guy sprints back into the arcade, and I'm dead serious about this. He sprints back to the arcade. He jumps on a Time Crisis 2 machine, the gun.
Yeah.
He jumps on it, uses that as leverage, and straight WWE drop kicks the dude.
Oh my
In
god.
the middle of the arcade. Gets up and sprints out of the arcade again.
That's so funny.
Hey man, sometimes you gotta give a Mr. Dropkick, man. I don't know.
Dropping
$10 on an L and then then getting kicked out of the arcade is crazy. That's bananas.
Yeah, like I remember the guy got up and he was like, he wasn't really all that hurt. He was just like, I remember he just goes, because he was like a little short, like little Mexican guy. This is California. He was like, "Este."
That's so funny.
Nah, that's tough.
You know, it's like we never saw him again. It was like, I'm like, man, you get your ass beat. You should have to this arcade again. But like, hey, if you're gonna go out, go out.
That's
With a
crazy.
bag, yeah, for sure.
Told Gabriel that comment in real life. Told him to really get
like
up,
I said,
man.
this was like the late '90s and stuff. So like no one was recording stuff. So that was just a memory, like us group. And whoever in that little group saw at that moment, we're just like, okay.
Insane,
That's
bro.
so funny.
That's the power of fighting games, baby. That's the power of fighting games. That's talking about, man. Well, listen, we can slide on here and we can talk about this next story. It's about to get a little bit interesting, I guess, because we had some rufflings, some talks, some murmurings about Space Marine 2. Now, there was a video that went up by a certain creator by the name of Asmon Gold, and in the comment section of this video, apparently, there was Saber's CEO that has dropped comments about the game and just about his stance on the game, and it was a long quote. You know, basically the cliff notes of it is Matthew Karch, the CEO of Saber Interactive. He said, "Yeah, listen, they wanted to make the game old school and focus it. He really didn't understand how many current games that are just like too complex and too much of an investment today." Not talking about his time when he worked on Halo and just kind of making things simple and making things addicting, just the fun of that. They want to do just the glory kills and all that stuff like that. One of the big things was him spending time as a CEO of Embracer, and he saw games there that made him want to cry with their overblown attempts at messaging or imposing morals on gamers. He said he was just focused on making the games about raising the heart rate and doing some glory kills. He said that's all it should be about. Interesting comments, and again, people were trying to figure out if this was actually the Saber CEO or not. There was a lot of fake comments that was going through the comment section, but Saber declined to comment on this, so maybe a little bit of an indication. When you are under, the Emperor's Guard at this point, you're a Space Marine 2 enjoyer. How are you feeling about these comments?
It's not problematic when it's isolated, right? Like you saying something along the lines of like, hey, I just want games where I can just turn my brain off, and that's what was my focus making. I don't think that's an issue. You know me, I am very much not a fan of Asmongold to any capacity. But the issue I have is kind of like when you say certain things like that, it's like I'm just not sure like what's the purpose of the comment, you know? Is it saying like, yo, games these days are making you think too much and that's just not the purpose of games? Because I don't think that necessarily like true to me, at least. Like one of my favorite, like one of the games that I think a lot of people will agree on is like one of the up there in games of all time is like Last of Us 1. I still to this day remember beating that game and like sitting with the reality of what I just did in that game for like a couple days. I was like, wow. Like I literally was sitting there and talking to my cousin, like I can't, like, am I in the wrong? I couldn't do anything. Like it felt like I actually murdered somebody, you know? And I thought that was really cool that a game could make me feel that way. So it's like saying like, oh man, it made me cry when I used to see people imposing morals. It's like, nah, I don't think it's really all that. I think a game can make you think. And that's like the issue I have is like, when you think of like, what are the things that Asmongold really talks about. And I don't know what the video is about because I haven't seen it, because I'm never gonna see it because I don't support Asmongold in the slightest, right? But it's like, what, when you're agreeing with that kind of a person, it's a little bit of a, I don't want to say a slippery slope, but being in the comment section like, man, love your videos, Asmongold, where you make fun of people of color and say that they don't deserve to be in certain areas there, or their diversity hires, or like his actions causing people like Sweet Baby Inc. to get harassed and cyberbullied to no end. Like, it's a weird look from the CEO, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a huge fan of it. I do think that this game works in a sense of like, yeah, you could turn your brain off to play Space Marines because they're not morally good people, you know? Like at no point in time is an Astartes gonna be like, there is a small group of children, I must save them before I eradicate. Like, no, they blow up their own planets and they think they can't win a war.
And that's one side thing I wanted to like mention. I'm like, again, I'm not too familiar with the Warhammer franchise. Before you continue, isn't their whole thing of everybody is just like terrible fucking sinners and this is war and we do atrocious things on a regular basis because we're all terrible people? Like morality is kind of just a rough thing for all of us.
The whole concept of Warhammer is that no one is a good guy.
Yeah,
like, no one.
Okay,
like, the only reason we're playing the Space Marines is because they're the closest to looking human.
Copy.
No one is a good guy. Everyone is a version of jacked up.
Copy.
Yeah.
So
it's like take something, throw it all the way left. Like they are not good people. The Space Marines are super huge space racist. Like I said, like if it was like this planet is full of babies, but there is one alien on this planet, and the only way to kill him is to eradicate the whole planet. We cannot land there. There's only one option. Can we let the one alien live? It's like, no, fuck the baby planet. We're blowing the bitch up. Like we cannot have those motherfuckers alive. Like they are to the extreme. And that's why I think it's like when you're talking in the terms of Space Marines, like, yeah, you could turn your brain off because you shouldn't be agreeing with these people. You know?
Everyone is a monster in their own like certain way. Like some are actual monsters. Some are just straight demons. Like put it this way. Like, I don't know everything about Warhammer at all, but I know a couple things from the lore that I picked up over time. Is that one of the gods of like putrid, for example, like he's like a god of like disease and petulance and all that type of stuff. One of his underlings are like these little dog creature things that try to go through. But here's the sick part of it: those creatures aren't trying to hurt people. They are in the rapture and joy that they've been taken in by this petulant god, and they are trying to actually have fun and become fun with the people they're going after, but they're so racked with disease and petulance that everyone they touch dies almost instantly. And they evolve because they kill so many people that their joy leaves them and they realize what they've been doing and they switch to sorrow. And then they evolve into a different race. This is the world of Warhammer. That is, everyone is a varying version of terrible. There are no good guys, and no one is a good guy.
and there's no imposition of morals on this at all, is what they're saying. There's no morals being imposed at all. I mean,
Yeah.
Like that, and that's the thing. That's why like this statement is like, when you pull the statement out and you just isolate it, like, hey, we just wanted to make a game where you could turn your brain off and do whatever. Like, yeah, that's you guys did a good job of that. But when you're in the Asmongold comment section, a man who is known for grifting, let's call a spade a spade. A grifter's comment section being like, hey, I agree with what you say, me as the CEO of this company, like, it's just like, man, I don't know.
Yeah,
it does not sit well with me at all.
I'm just saying, yeah. Again, I agree with you. In isolation, I understand, because again, he cited a game like Black Myth Wukong as well, where it's like, you know, again, the game is just telling the tale of a Chinese folklore story. At the end of the day, it's an epic tale. It's mysticism. It's all this stuff. It's just a cool story. Just cool story. Whooping ass as a Monkey King. Dope. Simple. It is what it is. But you put it in context of this and the fact that there's been so much discourse around Warhammer and the lead up with all the talk about all the random grifters about trying to bash all the DEI shit. And in the same week, I swear, there was a video circulating about a one dude just really pretty much questioning every single person of color and every single non-white male character in the Warhammer campaign and universe because they were not a white male. They were like, he was like he was like very misogynistic, talking about like,
I've seen that.
You know what I'm talking about.
It was the dumbest thing in the world, and like actual Warhammer fans had to come out saying, like when he talked about the Indian lady, and he's like, well, if you knew Warhammer, that person is not Indian. She's not from Earth.
She's a different race. Yeah, I was like, why you calling them Indian?
She's a completely different person. And there have been dark-skinned,
characters. Yeah,
characters.
They're black characters.
They're black characters before, and some of them are just like they turn black because of
their skin is actually black.
Actually black, and like it was like, and the guy himself in that rant literally says, I don't know anything about the Warhammer universe. Yeah. So he's basically just ranting to rant.
Yeah, he's riffing on some bullshit.
He's riffing on some bullshit because he wants to grift on some bullshit. It's those people who are perpetually outraged. One thing I've mentioned to somebody else is like, the people who are perpetually outraged and the people who claim that there's outrage are two sides of the same coin. They're both whiny bitches.
Facts.
So it's well, the ones who on the far left side of the category that keep on pointing at any person saying, oh, that's offensive, and the one who's always mad about those people, they are two sides of the same coin and should be ignored. Unfortunately, anger runs the internet, and the people who are smart enough to know how to grift off that anger, depending on one side or another, have basically found communities that they could swell up and have armies to go against each other, because people are followers by nature, and the parasocial relationship to so many of these creators, I feel, have gone to such a dangerous level that these people will literally fist fight in the name of a person that doesn't know who they are. So, and it's just one of those things that I just find it incredibly pathetic and it's bad. When I see a game like, what was like one super game that like it flopped really hard about the people like fighting with pronouns and like calling everyone, it was like an actual game that just flopped recently.
That could be like 80 different ones. You could be talking about Concord. You could be talking about like you could.
Well, no, I'm not talking about Concord. There was an actual game that came out that literally part of the gameplay was using the art of bullying and art of calling someone racist as like a superpower.
Oh, that sounds nuts. I need to find this game.
Yeah, it was familiar.
It sounds so interesting.
It was terrible, like super bad. Like even people who are lean more that way played it and went like, "This is ridiculous." But it is a thing that the people on the other side of the spectrum, the guy who ranted about Warhammer, will point to as the norm. Because what all that's happening is that the two extremes are yelling at each other while everyone else is moving on, and they talk about the complexity and the deep. Art by its very nature has societal is a reflection of society and a reflection of the politics of the person who created the item itself. It is innate in the art, in the making of the art, be it by individual or by a group. So even if they're not trying to be somebody trying to quote unquote have a message, there's a message. Like all these people who say, "Oh, I want to be a war game, no politics." You're playing a war game, you jackass.
Like motherfuckers playing Call of Duty. Like, man, I love Black Ops, man. No politics, just shoot. I'm like, bro, you sit, nah. Come on,
you're literally playing
come on, guys, come on, people.
It's like they don't because everything has to be surface level. Everything has to be like dumbed down that they can't understand what's really going on. Everything. You can even look back on some of the old like JRPGs from back in the day and find stuff on like that. You could look at Gears of War and see political things going on in there as well. And you can see stuff. And people are talking about wokeness. Everything's going. Woke stuff doesn't sell. It's bad. Well, I guess Larian Studios of Baldur's Gate 3 must have failed dramatically.
Yeah,
dude, you could bang everybody in that game.
I promise you, there's a good portion of people complaining about DEI now that had no problem fucking a bear. So I'm like, what's really going on? What's really going on? What's the disconnect?
Exactly. So it's one of those things. Are there people out there who have an agenda, who are trying to put something in the game? Yes. But are there people out there who are trying to put it for reasons because they want to have some type of representation in the game? Also, yes. But are there also people out there who feel that the norm was basically they were the model, they were the norm all this time, and now they're not the norm, so now they're feeling the otherish that everyone else felt all this time, and they don't like it. That's the thing. Like when someone says, "Hey, I wanted a black character in this game because I wanted somebody that looked like me," the person on the other side who has two brain cells of the conversation thinks, "Oh, you're just trying to take me out of the equation." When the reality is, I just wanted someone that looked like me. I wanted to be the hero for once, and they don't want that because when you look at the history of games, it was always that white person or something like that happened there. Heck, even the Asian people in the Japanese games, they made everyone look white. So it's like, that became the quote unquote standard. And now that more creators who have a little bit more diverse backgrounds have the power to kind of write their own stories, they want to pick and choose stuff in there, like one little thing, and that quote unquote ruins the game for them when the other 99% is in there. Like I'll look at the Assassin's Creed Shadows. That they're complaining to the point that the Japanese government had to make a statement basically saying, "We don't give a shit.
We shut the fuck up, bro. We don't care. We know the truth, bro. He was a real person. We get it. Shut up, bro. We're over it." Like, that's crazy. You have a government coming out saying that.
Yeah, you have a government coming out saying that, but these are all the same people that probably sat down in front of Netflix and watched the Yasuke thing, watching literally Yasuke fight robot anime stuff and that. And the people who complained about that one were complaining because there were black people who wanted to see the history of Yasuke and they were expecting a cool anime battle, and they didn't want robots and all this other crap. But did you hear the complaining from them? Because they got drowned out by the other group. But now that the situation is flipped a little bit, they don't like it because what they wanted was, and even they point that half of the game you're playing a Japanese person, you're not the right, because they want to be a Japanese dude, and they're mad that they can't play a Japanese dude when in the history, because Ubisoft probably looked at it, hey, we wanted a name in here, so they picked Yasuke. It's like, hey, this is someone who has some type of history, some type of title, but also
ambiguity.
His background is a mystery. Because if they talk about realism in an Assassin's Creed game, it's like, motherfucker, you were a Viking fighting like fighting gods by the end of the game.
Come on now.
So like, that's, none of that makes sense. So at the end of the day, while I do see certain people out there trying to trying to push something agenda you see in the media and stuff like that. That is a thing. It's not like you could just blow it off and say it's not happening. That does happen, but for the vast majority of stuff that's out there, it is not getting hammered as hard as people think it is, because what is really happening is that the people who are normally the norm are now the people who are being othered. And when the shoe's now on the other foot, they don't like how that feels.
Yep. And the craziest thing is the degree of othering is nowhere near as big as what's happened for most of history, especially in the gaming space. Like, bro, we're just adding more people of diverse backgrounds or whatever into these games who have probably been in this lore for a long time. Going back to the Warhammer case, there are black characters and there are people of color in Warhammer. It just fucking happens. It's just how it is. But the fact that they see it more, they think, oh, more of them automatically means less of us. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just they go complete zero-sum game. They go, oh, we're being erased. We're being this, that, and the third. And it's like, bro, we're just adding a little bit more of us to the equation where people can be seen, who are people of, again, color, people like black people, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, we want to see more of that in there, and they automatically think it's an invisible war. They create the imaginary war against themselves to feel like, oh, it's a long mission, it's a long plot. You know what I'm saying? They're removing all the things that made us feel comfortable. So now they're trying to kill us all. Like, and it makes no sense.
What's happening is that now they're playing victim when they weren't, when they were always the hero. And on top of all that, you have to understand, and this is something that it's sad to say, but the anime and the gaming community, when it comes to the loudest voices that are online, I'm not talking about the general people who don't know or care about it. I'm talking about the people you always see online yelling about stuff. They were othered because they were nerds. They were ostracized for being an anime and gaming fan for many, many years. They were the antisocial. They were the socially awkward. They were people who were teased because they like games. And now the one thing that they felt they had power over, they no longer have power over, and they're lashing out because it is become grander than when they started. And now it is a mixture of that and a mixture of the gatekeeping nature of a lot of those nerds. And the thing is, a lot of those nerds have nothing to go by. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. Yeah. I couldn't speak about anime or being like a hardcore gamer and stuff because forget about it. But these people are growing up, and then they'll get people, grifters, speaking in their ear, talking about, you're a victim and this is why a victim, and they're speaking in tones that sound intelligent. Like, you listen to someone like Asmongold, he's a weird person, but he's not dumb, and he's also not smart enough to realize that he's trying to manipulate people. Like, I don't think has like his own agenda. I think he's just somebody who just talks, and that's just his thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. But his own background and his own biases come into play, and then when he starts talking about it, then those people who are more susceptible to it start hearing about it, and then they start looking for voices that also voice that might be a little bit more extreme, and it becomes a ladder step down until they get to the people who are yelling at Warhammer without knowing the lore about Indian person who is an Indian.
Yep. Like, it all leads back, and you put it very well. It's like people just fall into this, they just fall right into the trap of it. And it's like, bro, you can enjoy these games without feeling that the world is against you, because it's not. The world is meant for everybody to enjoy. So the fact that there are more people that don't look like you, it doesn't mean it is a complete challenge on who you are as a person. Don't feel like it's a challenge on your life, because it probably isn't. You don't matter as much as you think, and it's okay. We all have a spot in this gaming thing.
And the biggest thing of all, like, if there's a game out there that you look at, you're like, hey, I don't like the message they're saying because whatever background beliefs that I have, don't interact with it, don't buy it. And when they fail, they'll fail. Sometimes it'll suck that they fail, and you'll see it happening every once in a while, like, hey, this thing failed. And sometimes people laugh at it and go, oh, damn, this was a failure. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it works. But because at the end of the day, the only color that really matters is green. And the market will just
to these motherfuckers.
So so that's just how it works. But when it comes to understand, like, it's one of those things of, I come from a generation, I understand what some of those people are talking about, and I kind of see their perspective on things. But at the same time, I also know that it is getting mired by layers and layers of bullshit. That's also being mired by layers and layers of them lashing out, because their hobby that used to be the one thing that they had control over is now becoming worldwide, and they are no longer the center of that world. And now they're lashing out on that. And even if those people try to deny it, it's like, you can't, because if you loved, let's say, anime, and someone complains that, hey, I don't like it that these anime people are drawing black people these crazy, like Mr. Popo, all day long, right?
Dear Lord.
Yeah, it's one of those things of those people were like, oh, you just don't understand, you don't understand. You're like, but the average anime person of color that knows this, they understand. Like, the Japanese people are a little bit more, condensed. But they're hoping over time things change. And then you look at something like Hunter x Hunter, while you see some black characters, they look more like a human being.
Or even I love the Mr. Popo reference, because even Dragon Ball now has evolved into a more a less caricature version with their black characters.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they couldn't do it before, because if you look at the original Dragon Ball, there was like one or two black characters in there that actually looked normal. Fitting with the art style that they had, but they looked normal. Yeah. So they could do it. Like, I remember in the original Dragon Ball, there was like that Indian guy that was trying to get water in the tournament. He looked like he fit the art style of the series, but he looked like a normal human being. So it's just one of those things of, my biggest worry on all this is more of the crazy parasocial nature the internet has developed for a lot of these people, and they don't know grifting works, because people who are getting grifted want it.
Yeah, very much so. And I agree with you, and it's like, I just don't want things like this to continue to stoke the flames of what these people are just sucked into for some reason, because it is a very ugly trend that I see popping up more and more, that every game, no matter how minute the reasoning, the detail, or the characteristic, if it has something that can be somehow extrapolated into some DEI imaginary war, they're gonna find it and they're gonna try and either review bomb it or blast it on Twitter to hell, because they saw this one aspect of a game and saying, oh, this game is either for us, oh, we're gonna support you to the ends of the earth because you're anti-DI, because we saw this one random thing, or, oh, you're DI, we're gonna ruin you, we're gonna run you into the ground, blah blah blah. Again, you see the comments of that video and stuff, they're like, oh my gosh, base comment, I'm gonna buy all the DLC for Space Marine 2. I'm like, I don't want games to live and die by the fact that they support or whatever, or against DI and all shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want games to live and die by that shit. I want games to live and die by the quality that they bring, the perspective that they show, and how fun they are for people. That's the core of this shit. But people who are like, oh, this guy's the CEO apparently said one comment that supports my stance of, oh, we don't want any DEI, and so he's like, I want games just to be fun, like Wukong and whatever. I just want to do glory kills and stuff like that. These motherfuckers might take it in their head as, oh, he doesn't really want any black people like that, or he doesn't really want to push too many DEIs or minorities in my games, so he just wants to focus on just shooting and stuff, and again, keeping the things how it used to be in the old days, like white people leads and all that and nothing else. I'm gonna agree with him. I'm gonna support everything he does. That's not why you should support somebody, because that's a dumbass stance to take. That's a dumbass way to weasel your way around a topic to support somebody. That cannot be the crux of what people do. That cannot be the commonplace conversations around games and why you support or not support them. It can't be.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's just from one side. Then you look at the other side that do try to push a crazy agenda, do try to force something in there, that they create their own set of grifters. They create their own set of things. And what do? The easiest tactic in the world. They wait until the ones on the other side pick something out, and then they spend their entire time arguing on the opposite side only on that subject. And what ends up just causing like little wars back and forth. So that's unfortunately at the end of the day, games should be on the merit of the quality of the game and the story of the game, and that's about it. But unfortunately, in this world that we're living now, the social media and the way it is, until things evolve in the social media space, we're going to see this. And unfortunately, anger gets the most attention. And if you want to, I say, be the lazy creator, you could make angry comments and say this sucks. Like a game gets a 7 out of 10 and it's an okay game. All of a sudden, if you want to get views on your YouTube video, you go, how did this fail? It's like, it didn't fail. It was a 7 out of 10 game. It's perfectly fine, but you get force fed. Force fed.
And that's the craziest thing to me too at the end of the day. And it's the biggest thing. Most of these motherfuckers don't even play these games. They just see the talking point and they speak to it. Like, I bet you motherfuckers in these comments talking about, oh yeah, I'm buying this game. They didn't even buy the game. They just seen the comment. They were like, yo, Space Marine 2 base, and then moved on with their day. Cause you know what I'm saying? Either they both boys, it is not true they were that they're actual gamers. And they just hate motherfuckers. It's just wild. It's just wild to see that disconnect between people being actual gamers and then people being point scorers for some invisible war that they're fighting on whatever end of the spectrum you sit on.
And the funniest part about all this is that we're still only talking about 20% of the gaming pool out there compared to the other 80% who just buying the game that they feel like buying and going on with their day. The vast majority of the arguments and the YouTube videos and the Twitter battles are set up a bad look for gamers and stuff on all ends of the spectrum, on the left and the right side of the spectrum. But at the end of the day, there's going to be 80% of the audience that goes, oh, Space Marine 2 is out. I heard the first one's good. Let me buy it. Click. And that's all they cared about. At the end of the day. So it's a weird and sad state of affairs, and I've learned over time, at least myself, to basically ignore it because I know it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It matters more for the indie smaller games, but for like the big games, it doesn't really matter. And if you think Concord failed because of whatever agenda, you don't really know what was actually going on. Concord failed because it was a very boring, iterative type of game in a genre that was basically owned by the Overwatches in the world, and it was bringing nothing new to the table. So if you're gonna, like say, if you're gonna make a Call of Duty competitor, you better be bringing something unique to the Call of Duty space. If not, everyone's gonna keep on playing Call of Duty because why would we play your game? That's why it failed. It's like, it's you weren't doing anything interesting. You weren't doing anything new. It's and no one wanted to buy it. Like I could get Overwatch for free, literally, and play that instead of paying $40 for your Concord.
It's real, man. It's real.
No, that's facts.
Shit is crazy, man. Crazy. If I ain't say this enough, rate this shit 5 stars. He's cooking right now. We're cooking right now. I'm dead serious, bro. If y'all don't hit that share button, I promise, man, I'm about to drop kick one of y'all motherfuckers to the screen. I'm about to. Anyway,
we got a time crisis machine right here. We
I'm about to say, it's like, do you have your time crisis? And like I said, like he didn't just jump off the time crisis and kicked him one leg. I'm talking about full on, like 2-leg, kick him, fall on the ground himself.
Dr. Doom foot dive, boy.
Yeah, the Dr. Doom foot dive kick.
That's so funny.
Gotta be on it, man. He gotta be on it. Well, if it wasn't enough that there's crazy hell on earth conversations on the consumer side, on the dev side, it seems like it is absolutely no better. Well, I should specify the executive side, because over the past week and change, we heard a little bit of a comment from former PlayStation Europe and Codemasters boss Chris Deering in some type of conference or whatever presentation. He was just talking about how developers that have been affected by layoffs just get over it. Go to the beach for a year. Wait for the industry to recover and then just find new work. Do whatever. You'll be fine. What the hell? When? Talk to me.
What does he like? Man, the thing is that like, no, I was gonna say I can't be mad at people who are this disconnected because they're just not real people. Like, I don't really use the term NPC ever, really, but yeah, this is exactly like these are like I think they did this for a purpose. I don't know if they're trying to sell something or whatever it is, but like. No way on God's green earth is that like a real statement.
Yeah, I can tell you.
Because how do you go to a beach for a year when you don't even pay them that well?
Let me.
You know how much they pay.
And let me specify this as well. This was again a talk on a podcast, I believe, and he was talking about Chris Deering, again the former boss of PlayStation, was talking about how the widespread layoffs in the games industry. He was like, he doesn't believe it stems from the corporate greed. He's like, yo, it's not the fault of corporate greed. It's not our fault, guys. And he was like, hey, you guys gotta drive an Uber, do something, you know what I'm saying? Get right with the world, and then come back. We'll see you later. Like, so continue on.
I gotta get a second job.
Yeah, like all those developers who spend years studying in school and getting their certifications and getting a resume together and putting themselves out there. You know, yeah, just do an Uber.
Like, dog, you want me to work crunch and work and Uber? Like, that doesn't make sense. There's just no time for that. It doesn't, like, logistically. Who are you? What have you done for your company? I need to know, because if you're a numbers guy, there's no way you can look at a 24-hour day, see somebody have to work and like a 12-hour day. There's an 8-hour. If you're lucky, you get 8 hours of sleep. You work 12 hours because your company's in crunch, and then you want me to drive Uber after? Do you even know how much Uber pays? There's no way you can logistically. It just doesn't make sense. It just What did you do?
And they'll point to like, well, we given some of these devs salaries of like $150,000 a year. I was like, yeah, but you live in San Francisco where it's $5,000 a month for rent.
Yeah.
So you
don't let them work anywhere else. They have to be in the state that you guys are talking about.
Yeah, you have to be in the state that you guys are talking about. So, you know, yeah, they're paying. Yeah, they might get a paycheck of $150,000 a year, but they're getting roommates because they can't afford the rent in that place. So it's basically a net zero at the end of the day for a lot of them. And some people don't realize how disconnected because some of these CEOs were people who already had a silver spoon in their mouth from the beginning. They live a different life. They live a different world. And you could talk to people who are wealthy, and there's two types of wealth. They're the people who worked for their wealth, who came from, let's say, a poor middle class or even upper middle class family, and then the people who were born rich. And the perception of the world between those two are night and day. It is like insane. A long time ago, I dated a girl, super sweet. She was in the super rich category. Like, her dad owns about 15 pharmacy clinics and about 20 hotels in Chicago.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, like, we were at, I spent a year in law school, and I was in law school at the time. And she literally, and I wish I was joking about this. This is 100% true. She was like, oh, I miss my family. I'm going to go to the airport, and my dad rented a helicopter to pick me up. So, and we were states away. So she got picked up by a helicopter. After she got a personal driver to pick her up, to go there to spend time, and then came back. This was a weekend trip, not a week, like a vacation, a weekend trip, so she could spend time with her family and come back. That's the level of rich. And she, when I told her stories of like where I grew up, which, the Southern California with all the cholos and all that type of stuff, and the punk guys with like mohawks and whatnot, she couldn't fathom how that world was like. She never saw a homeless person in her life, and she lived in Chicago. That should tell you.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That doesn't make sense.
That tells you the life some of these people, these CEOs live. And also, and this is sad to say because I've talked to some pretty rich people who are CEOs, the ones who kind of were born that way. A lot of them have sociopathic tendencies.
Yeah.
That the reason they're in the position that they are is because their mentality, and they were raised with the mentality that what they say is correct. Everything around them runs around them. They are the leaders, and no one could tell them no.
Yeah. And you see that with like that comment of like, just go drive an Uber for like a couple years. Like, just don't do the job you spent all your money and time learning how to do for a year, and then come back when it's better.
Like,
yeah,
what the fuck? I want to smack him on the top of his balding head, brother. Like, what?
A lot of these people sadly have no concept of reality, or they don't want to. There's also the factor of people who got to the position because they worked their way up, and now they're in that position and they don't want to lose their place, and they kind of view it as, well, I suffered, so you need to suffer too. But the problem is, you suffered because of a situation, because you were building yourself up. They're suffering because the stockholders wanted a 20% growth, and you only came up with them 15% growth. And it wasn't like the company was in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, how many times do you hear, like, EA did it a couple years ago when they fired 5,000 employees, and they were doing record-breaking numbers.
Yep.
No, not EA, Activision. They were doing record-breaking numbers and all that stuff, and they fired 5,000 people.
Still,
you know. Microsoft does it to this day. It's like, let go 700 people, you know, because of like, oh, there was carryover from Activision. There was too many positions. Yeah, that might be true, but there was also a bunch of people in there who were in quote unquote the disposable category that probably worked for Activision or Microsoft for years and years and years. You know, so it's this, unfortunately, the executive class, either out of just pure defiance or pure ignorance, never want to admit that they're the problem, because if they admit that they're the problem, they got to turn around and then talk to their shareholders and say, we're the problem, which affects their pockets. And at the end of the day, their pockets are the only pockets that matter.
Yeah. Nah. Nail on the head, man. Nail on the head. It's like, you know, the people with the most say and the pull and the sway, and the ones that make the most decisions, funnily enough, take the least amount of blame. Funnily, take the least amount of brunt. It's just how the world works at this point. This is so jarring to me when you see this shit. It's like, how fucking dare you, first and foremost? Like, it's just crazy. How the fuck do you mean get over it? If I take a loss, if I'm a game developer and I take a loss, I don't know where I'm getting work next, and now I have to pay rent in the next 20 days. If you take a bit of
expensive cities in the world,
if you take a fucking loss, you might have to foreclose maybe one of your properties. You have to sell one of your fucking yachts. Shut the fuck up. What are you talking about, bro? And this is the shit I be talking about, bro. My perspective has changed so much over the years, because again, years ago, I didn't know what the gaming industry exactly was. I didn't know what development looked like. You know what I'm saying? I didn't look at it. I was naive. So I'm thinking, oh man, these devs is bullshit. These devs da. And now I'm understanding that devs are some of the most passionate fucking gamers we have, but we don't get to hear that because they're under wraps with the NDAs, and they're working hard at trying to make games that we can all enjoy. And they're at the mercy of people who just don't get games. They just don't understand shit. And if they do relatively understand shit, they think they have a handle on games so well that they commandeer and headlock projects to a point where they're crippled. The things that they can't change, or things constantly change, and the optimal project can never be reached. The optimal project can never be achieved, because you have these people who are running the ship, and they're running it into the side of a fucking mountain. They're running into the side of a fucking, you know what I'm saying? They're running into the ground. And it's just so jarring to see these takes again and again and again and again. These CEOs don't fucking care. And I wish that these things could be wake-up calls so the general populace of people can understand. Like, it's like how certain things in America, how like, you know, like there's a lot of people who just, you know what I'm saying, like just don't like the police or whatever, blah blah blah. Like, there needs to be some consensus here in the gaming industry about where a lot of these issues may lie, and a lot of them lie at the executive level. That needs to be a consensus understanding from all corners of people who understand this shit or want to know about the shit more. Casual people, I get whatever, but if you're online looking at this shit and you're bashing devs, if you're adding devs on Twitter, if you're adding community managers who have nothing to do with the direct development of the game, if you're adding direct frontline people for why a game, you know what I'm saying, might have a certain decision of good or bad or blah blah blah, you might need to turn that decision to these motherfuckers who are lining their pockets, win, lose, or draw, because they probably have the most influence over your game and the game that you were anticipating than anybody else. These motherfuckers are saying, oh, the people who make your game day in, day out, maybe they can just, what's it called? Get an Uber job, man. Become a Lyft driver, nigga. You'll be all right. We'll see you next year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Not understanding that we are probably going to experience some of the most crippling brain drain of talent in the gaming industry over this period, because these people are making decisions like this to lay off people and to cut people out of the gaming industry. And a lot of these people who are the lifeblood of the industry are having these heart-to-heart talks, these hard conversations of, do I want to stay in this place that doesn't even like treat me with respect, that doesn't even have consistency or any sustainability in my life? And they're going elsewhere. Some people are going elsewhere. Some people are not coming back to games. And the talent that we lose from these moves and from these mentalities affects the games that we get, because when the industry does get better and when the economy does improve and stuff like that, these same dumbasses who cut these people off are gonna want new hires. They're gonna want new people back, and they're like, oh yeah, it's getting like 10 new people to work on this game, not knowing that, again, the synergies, the experiences, the teams that were built that are being constantly ripped apart and pulled back together again, and thrown new members, and it get team members and directors gotten rid of and stuff like that. They don't understand that chemistry, that experience, that's what goes into building great games. And we're gonna get screwed over in the long run because of people like Chris Deering. That's what happens.
Yeah. And to kind of put like a cap on all this, I could say in 2 words that sums up the ignorance of a lot of these CEOs that don't take into account everything that you just said. BioWare magic.
Oof. Oh my gosh. That hurt me a lot. That hurt so much because it's so true. Fuck my back. Ow. Ooh, that burns. Oh, if y'all don't know, y'all need to figure that one out, bro. I'm gonna leave it right there. Nah, that's hard. Oh, that shit hurt. It hurt because it's so true.
Yeah. I have not told a single lie since I've been on this podcast.
No sir.
He been batting 1,000 for real, bro. This is real right here, man. Oh my gosh. But speaking of magic, there's a certain game that might need some because of recent events. We heard a new report about the shooter named Marathon. Yes, the shooter named Marathon, coming from Bungie and by extension their brand new overlord Sony after the full takeover and after all the Destiny stuff that happened. There's been new reports about Marathon again. Apparently it's going to be priced at $40, which is the main consideration for a price tag. It will be class based and not a hero shooter. We got 2 maps currently playable in their testing rounds. They got core gameplay similar to an escape extraction style shooter like Tarkov, but gonna have a Bungie twist. There has been some positive feedback from players, and again, they think that Bungie morale is probably a little bit low amid the recent leadership changes, and on top of the fact that Concord happened, how do people feel about the chances of Marathon? What is the vibe around Marathon? Fig, I'm gonna throw it to you first, man.
To be very honest, if I were Bungie, I would sit on that project for a little bit and just keep on working on it in silence, because right now, if they were to put it out, especially if it has any ties to live service or anything that seems very similar to any type of hero shooter type of situation, that's going to be a death knell. Right now, probably the 2 biggest no-nos you could say in the industry when it comes to the perception of the consumer is live service. Because people are they're weary of the word. Even if the game is good, they're weary of hearing something like that. Because while live service used to be MMOs or something in nature like a Fortnite, even that has changed, and now it's games that have become a slog.
Yeah.
And all the things that people have said for years, that the people who defended companies with their very life for some reason kept on ignoring, when they were like, hey, all these microtransactions, and how even cosmetic microtransactions have a bad portion, have a detriment, can be detrimental to people and society who have addiction issues or spending issues or whatnot. And people are like, no you're not, cosmetic is fine. Because the whole point was those things were going to be designed and they actually affect how the games are made. So if they want you to do something in a certain way, they will make you getting all those skins, all that stuff a bit harder, so that way you spend money at the end of the day. Right now, a lot of these live services are basically mobile games with big budgets. And if another live service comes through, even if it's good, it's going to turn off a lot of people directly.
Yeah,
100.
No, I feel that. I mean, I already said, even when Marathon was first announced, I'm just not. I wasn't interested back then. Hearing that it's gonna be a Tarkov anything, yeah. I'm pretty good off an extractions. You can extract me out of the equation because I'm not picking that up. I don't like losing everything because I got third party. I get enough of that in BRs, and no, I'm pretty good. And I also agree, like, after the Concord fiasco, another shooter from PlayStation is just, I just don't think it's in the cards. Like, especially like an extraction shooter. Maybe if it would have been like, the only thing I could see that they could do would be removed from that would be like a more of a looter shooter, or more of like a PvE style thing. But like, I don't think that the game could be bad. I would need to see more first. But right now, talking about a shooter after you just gave up on Concord, it's not the best. Also, I'm sure morale in Bungie is really low, because I mean, look at what's been going on with Bungie these past couple of months. On top of that, like, you kind of, and not to say that Concord should have came out and they should have supported it more, but like, Concord came out for 1 week and it got shelved. Yeah. Imagine being Bungie and being like, yeah man, can't wait to develop a game for PlayStation, the people who supported Concord, you know, like that's scary. That is a scary sight. And then on the one side you're like, man, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe they'll support us. Oh, Concord got canceled. Maybe I can find jobs somewhere else. Oh, Xbox just fired 600 people. I wouldn't be happy about going to work either. I would be super dreadful about this whole situation as well. I think their best course of action is, one, building up that morale again, getting that relationship going, and like really standing behind their people. Because I think one thing that these developers don't really realize enough, not the developers, these publishers don't realize enough, is that the power of having a solid, experienced team and helping them grow. Because I cannot remember what game it is, but I'm sure this applies to a lot of different games. A game that has people who are experienced, worked together for a long time, have people who can help the newer people come in and learn. Like, these are things that will help you in the long run. Every time you fire 600 people and have to hire 600 new people, those 600 new people have to be onboarded, taught how things work. Because even though everybody works on Unreal Engine, what you do on Unreal Engine is different from what they do on Unreal Engine over at Sega. So it's a lot of catching up. So it's really, 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 I think it would be in Sony's best interest for them to sit down and cook. Like, the two games that I like to point out that had really long development periods that ended up being successful, and I'm not saying long development leads to success, but people like Space Marines 2 and Larian Studios with Baldur's Gate 3, these people sat there together and worked on this until it was absolutely ready. There is absolutely no rush for the PlayStation shooter, because I'm not gonna lie to you, whether you drop it today or tomorrow, it is going to get the same amount. Like, it's not going to change how people view a Sony based shooter, you know. Like, you got to come out the gate swinging but dropping it today isn't going to be like, oh, we're going to get more players if we do it sooner. Like, no, it does not matter. If it's a good quality game, people are going to play it. I was not interested at all in Helldivers 2. Trip is my witness. I kept seeing it and I was like, oh, this kind of looks cool, but you know, I don't really care that much. And then when I saw the actual gameplay, the work and the love that they put into it, I was like, nah, I have to tap in. This is something that I have to be a part of. And that is something that I think that they're really missing. They're just not seeing that, hey, maybe there's a crazy concept. We support the people who make the game. I know maybe that is out of left field, but I think if you sat down and built up a solid team, built up a solid community, a solid culture, a solid company, you wouldn't have to worry about your game not being quality, you know? Like, and that's something that I think Nintendo does really well, is that their turnover isn't as high. So even their duds, even the Nintendo duds are like some companies 8.5s.
They got a higher floor just because they're able to have synergy between their teams, and that's just the barest fact of it, bro. It's like whatever you want to say, whatever scale, they'll put out a decent fucking game just because that's just their standard, because they won't let certain standards slip across the norm. You know what I mean? Like, it may not be everybody's cup of tea, but once you play that shit, I'm like, yo, it's not a bad game. It's not a bad fucking game. Yeah, again, I've said this many a time before. Sony's desperation to really have a marquee hit shooter has pressurized almost every project that's come out of the gate. Don't you find it funny that the best multiplayer shooter experiences that have ever dropped on Sony's first party was a tacked on multiplayer from Uncharted, and what was the other one? I'm forgetting the other one that came out. Oh yeah, Factions. I was about to say Last of Us multiplayer, another tacked on multiplayer. Isn't that funny that their highest quality projects have come from tacked on multiplayer modes from their single player experiences? Pretty much most of their other ones that they've either tried, Killzone is not as popular as either of those two game modes. I don't care what anybody says, like that's just bare fact of the matter. You're not beating an Uncharted multiplayer because Uncharted's name is attached to it, and you're not beating Factions multiplayer because Last of Us is attached to it. You're not doing it. And everything else that's tried to, you know, to pull close to it, not even close. You sitting here trying to tell me that Foam Stars could come anywhere close?
Speaking of Foam Stars, Sony, Squaresoft announced today, and surprise, Squaresoft is the thing that they always
fucking
say.
Squaresoft.
Foam Stars and Final Fantasy 16 didn't reach.
They said expectations. Yeah, I saw that.
It was like, has there ever been a game you released that meet expectations? I don't think so.
Their expectations are. But go ahead.
Listen,
I don't think there's ever been a Square Enix game that met their expectations ever.
They in a damn making the band 360 deal with these exclusives, man. I'm about to say there's a reason why, but at least part of the reason why your fucking sales numbers is disappointing. But that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, it's just like, why would anything else inspire confidence in the shooter space from PlayStation when the best thing that y'all have done is a tacked on multiplayer mode from two mainly focused single player experiences? What inspires confidence in me at that point? Not much beyond that. After Concord drastically flopped, what is there to look at? Again, we talked about this last week. Fair Games was the other game that they were like looking to release at some point soon. I don't know jack shit about that. So it's just like, where are we going with that? And Marathon's been in the pressure cooker for so long, you might as well leave it in there for a couple more years. Like, you just don't have it in the shooter lane right now. And I think their desperation to have something in that shooter lane that is somehow either live service or something like that can appease somebody for a consistent amount of time, that desperation is going to push them to potentially make bad decisions with whatever shooters in the incubation tube right now. Again, we said this as well, that general desperation to have something in there, and the fact that they canceled Last of Us Online, I feel like that doubled down the pressure under these groups, under these projects, under these teams of like, yo, you guys need to make a shooter for us. You guys need to deliver on this shit ASAP. And Bungie, especially after how they flopped and people got laid off and stuff with the end of Destiny and stuff. Oh yeah, they're feeling it now. This is their first project that they're fully under Sony's control. This is the first time in a long time that they're fully under somebody's thumb, and they gotta deliver. They're feeling pressure like nobody else's business beforehand. So yeah. It's just, it's just a big situation that I'm like, they need more time to cook under, bro, because there's so much riding on this for them, for Sony. There's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of I'd say external forces and internal forces, all kinds of forces on this, you know what I'm saying, that could push the game in the wrong direction.
And Marathon cannot be another iterative type of situation. It cannot be a Concord, because
hell no.
It'll run into the same situation. If it's an extraction shooter and people love playing Tarkov, if this game comes out and is basically a copy paste of Tarkov, why would anyone want to play that over Tarkov?
Facts. That's the bare fact of the matter. If your quote unquote Bungie twist is not definitive and differentiable enough from Tarkov and all the other extraction shooters out there, what are we doing here? Why do I care? Why should I even stick around enough, you know? And that's what's gonna catch him, man. That's what's gonna catch him. But we'll see, man. We'll see about it. But for right now, confidence is not too high. But we can slide on here and talk about this one really quickly. Again, back to the EA investor, whatever the thing that they did this week, some investor conference or whatever. But they did have a quick talk about generative AI in their business model. And again, after a first comment from Andrew Wilson saying generative AI is at the very core of our business. CEO Andrew Wilson said that, of course. And EA's chief strategy officer Mahir Vaidya, apologize if I butchered that name, but he basically did a whole little demonstration for 5 minutes about the generative AI in EA's processes to kind of like supercharge user created content, or UGC or UGX, whatever you want to refer to it as, and just talking about how they can just kind of make different games with prompts and all that stuff using EA assets and all that. So basically, this is just a big statement of we're going to try and make AI as close to our business model as possible. How do you feel about this?
When the fuck was that part of the business model? What do you mean it's at the core? When did it get to the core? What was at the core before we even knew what AI was?
As soon as motherfuckers started putting money into it, as soon as they realized they can do shit on the cheap.
Okay, so one, you're full of shit. It was never at the core. You want to fire people. That's what you want to do. You want to cut down on what you need to, on how much money you need to spend. One, and then two, if EA does AI as well as EA does video games, we will be the devs will be safe. It will actually work in the benefit of the devs, because EA, if you guys can't even make regular video games, like what video games are you going to teach it to make, or what are you going to teach the AI how to do? Make another Battlefield 2042? I don't know what it's going to learn from, but I feel like you guys need to learn before the AI can be taught. You know, it just doesn't. Sure. EA, you would be better off just, I don't know, paying your developers more. You'd be better off having a better business in general. If you want to waste your money and time, sure, man, by all means, I guess. I just think it's lazy. I think maybe this is a crazy concept. We focus on making a good product as opposed to making the product easier to make. You know, maybe let's get some quality in before we start worrying about trying to turn our devs into self-checkout machine.
Interesting, man. Fig, how you feeling about this presentation and the declarative statement on their stance with AI?
I think is actually very amusing, and not for a reason that you guys talked about. Since this was a investor call type of statement that he was making during this time, that statement was not for the gaming media or the gamers. That statement was for the investors that don't know the difference between AI, crypto, or Google. So the thing is, if you listen to a lot of these investor calls, AI is the big thing. Invest in AI, invest in AI, invest in AI. These investor guys only care about what they think is going to be the next big thing that's going to bring them billions of dollars in their pocket. And AI is the thing that it is right now. So if you are a CEO of a tech corporation, and I mean all these companies are technically tech corporations, you know, and you're on an investor call, what is the easiest way to get investors in to put money into your company is tell them that you're doing AI in some way. They don't need to know what you're doing AI for. You just got to say AI is the future of our business, is a core of what we do, and all this other BS. And the investors will just clap along. If you ever want to lose brain cells, just listen to any investor call, not just the big statements. Listen to the call, listen to the stuff that people call in. It is the wild, especially in the video game space. It will blow your mind how people who have millions of dollars invested in a game will literally say stuff like, "Is Spider-Man in the game?" And they'll be like, "No, sir. This is a racing game." And because that person has been on 15 other investment calls about 15 other companies that they put their money into, because at the end of the day, it's not about the game. They don't care about the game. They care about what is going to be the return on their investment. And if they do not hear AI as part of that return on that investment, then they're like, "Oh, you're behind the ball. So therefore, I don't want to put future money in." So that's, I think, something that people kind of forget in this space. Do I also believe that he is going to try to force feed AI into every little aspect of the? Of course, yes, of course, he's going to 100% do that, and it's going to fall flat in the face, just like crypto was trying to be force fed into games for a short period of time, just like NFTs were force fed into games for a short period of time. AI is going to have longevity. It's because it's an actual tool. It's not just some quick seam. It's an actual tool, but that statement was for the investors that do not know jack. They just want to know whatever they're investing in has AI attached, because quote unquote that's the future, and they want to be on. They know if they put enough investments into one of these tech companies dealing with AI, one of them's going to blow up and make them ultra rich.
Yep. No, facts. That is definitely a perspective we got to keep in mind of. Like, they're talking to the motherfuckers who got their money in this company, and they want to say the buzzwords that they really want to hear. That is very true. They want to make sure that, oh yeah, we're giving you guys what you want. We're going to be on the up and up on the latest and greatest. So whenever there's potential money to be made in frontiers that we haven't heard of yet, we'll be the first ones there to make that money for you so you get your dividends right. Like, that's really what it is. That's all the senseless babble that it is. But beyond that, what they actually showed and stuff like that, I just think it's funny when they use, again, the battlefield assets and some of these other things. There was like, make a maze, and I'm like, bro, there was no walls in this motherfucker. I could see you from the top of that thing. It wasn't really a maze at all. One, just kind of showing how like wonky this shit is. I'm like, let's just call a spade for one. Generally, AI is already used. Again, AI has been used for decades in fucking gaming. That's just how it is. We get it. Generative AI is the thing that we're focused on in terms of what it actually impacts in terms of undercutting actual developers and what they do. Does it actually enhance their work? Can it help them, or is it replacing them? And this is where I'm like, okay, we need to kind of put a line in the sand. I hope certain things do fall flat in his face so we can properly apply how it can help and enhance the development process. Like, if there are some tedious processes in there, and we've said this before, if there's some tedious processes that are like laden in the development stage, like, oh, well, whatever, you gotta like, oh, repeat 800 of these shadows in this certain way or this orientation. I'm bullshit. I don't necessarily know what goes into it like that, so bear with me, please. Like, oh, if I gotta repeat this one process 800 times, if I can do that through AI and I set the template and they just follow that down, and then that's my one little section done, and it saves the developer time, cool. I'm fine with generative AI being a helpful assistant to this process. But the moment people overstate and overinflate its importance and capability to create novel and alluring experiences is where I draw that line. Because you're not going to tell me some random dude, you know what I'm saying, Skylar and Derek from what's it called, from Iowa, they're going to put in a prompt talking about, make me a 1v1 FPS map for a game. Make me a character, blah, 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 and they post that thinking it's going to be the next big hit. No, there's more shit that goes into it than just you putting something into a prompt. There's more thought, effort, an actual, you know what I'm saying, nous that goes into it. I understand giving people tools to help, but I just think there's a certain weight of importance of actually creating the art, actually understanding the craft, and going from there that makes a game good. And just generative AI and trying to push that as the standard that may be an alternative to devs, no, there's nothing that can replace a smart dev, a dev that knows what they want, a dev that knows how to create and craft a world and build experiences, gameplay loops, systems to support that world. There's nothing that will ever replace that, in my opinion. So them pushing this and them showing that demonstration is just like, it's again just more continual sour taste in my mouth, because I'm like, bro, there's like 8 companies that did stupid shit this week, and then EA's like, man, we the OGs of this shit. I started this. You was born in the you thought you was born in the darkness, man. You merely adopted the dark. I was here in the trenches being an asshole company. I was doing this from the beginning. It's just wild to me, man.
Yeah, it's 100%, and you know, at the end of the day, AI is also in this very weird state. Generative AI is this weird state because it has to take information from somewhere, and it is going to come to a point, because right now it's the Wild West.
Yep.
The laws are going to be put in place of how the AI pulls that, acquires that information, and it's going to be a big wake up call if lawsuits and legal things come that put a halt to them scraping entire Reddit websites and stuff, because all it will take is a couple people or hundreds of people doing class actions and say, hey, I'm an artist that posts stuff on Reddit, but that property is still mine, is not yours. And then they start arguing legal contract law of the toss that they signed when they joined Reddit gives them right of their property, you know, like actual right of the property.
Yeah.
And in this particular setting, or other things in that nature. So what happens if those laws start getting passed, and all of a sudden you have companies like EA who are using generative AI, that now the generative AI model has nothing to process through, or more importantly, they do, but it's going to be like a Shutterstock situation. You got to go to the company that they license these things.
That data for you.
And that data for you, and then it becomes an extra cost. You know, so those are things that people aren't thinking of ahead, because that's all it takes. That's all it's going to take, is if the laws and protection of people's rights and property and stuff get tightened up, and the generative AI can't scrape anymore. People always forget. People think computers are smart. Computers are stupid. Computers only know what you give them. If generative AI has nothing to pull from, it's going to stare at you blankly. Facts. So that's just the way it is. And like I said, AI is not going anywhere. This is not NFTs. This is not crypto. AI is the future. It is going to play a strong portion in all our lives in every single aspect. And I'm not anti-AI itself. It's just more of, we need to sew up where the information is coming from and how it's used. Because right now it's just the Wild West.
Facts. I agree. It's the application and efficacy, making sure this shit is sustainable and there is a healthy way of handling this information without crossing bounds that it doesn't need to. Because again, you're right, they're running away with this shit. They're trying to make sure all their internal AI models and stuff are good, and they're scrubbing everything from cat videos to MKBHD shit. They getting everything. They piling all that shit up, and it doesn't matter who shits in the wild. They're taking it and they're making their AI models with it. And it's like, bro, it's crossing so many lines to try and just be a viable solution. People are so hell-bent on trying to make this thing replace the artist and replace the developer that it's just creating such a weird rift, and it's not going to be able to solve shit in the end. This is something that's unachievable, bro. To me, but they're gonna try and ruin as much shit as possible trying to make it happen. They'll die trying, and they'll ruin as many lives. They'll lay off as many people as they want trying to get towards that outcome. and it's just something that can't stand. We got to find the healthy bounds, man. We got to find the healthy bounds. Simple as that. All right. And before we get up out of here, I just want to have a quick little chat with y'all talking about, listen, the Game of the Year race. The Game of the Year race is low-key heating up. We're at the fall season. They got a couple more months of the Game Awards. It has been announced for December 12th or whatever. So we'll use that as a base of reference. Real quickly, I want to get y'all game that you think most likely will be Game of the Year. And then let me get your personal Game of the Year so far. I might have to revisit this stuff at the end of the year as well, just get a beat on everything. But Fig, I want to throw it to you first. First, give me your most likely game to win Game of the Year.
It's kind of weird because this is a bit of a weird year because if they allow the Erdtree DLC to be qualified, because that's a big thing. Because the Erdtree could have released as a separate game and people would not even notice a difference.
That's facts.
But it's, if they allow a DLC, that's going to be up, and I'm sure they're going to win awards. They're going to win some awards, but I don't think they're going to be the winner of the Game of the Year. I think Astrobot has a very strong case of winning Game of the Year, and I think Wukong will be nominated. But it will be it'll be in the Spider-Man space from like how Spider-Man was last year.
Yeah, they just like a step behind.
It's just a step behind because there are things with the Wukong game that while the game itself is expansive and it's great looking, there's a lot of technical issues. There's a lot of issues with pacing. There's a lot of stuff in the game that you could tell that this was this company's first effort of putting things together, that I'm sure when they make their next game, it's probably going to be wild, you know, and come things together. So if you look at all that, I think Astrobot right now is probably the most likely candidate. But if I'm being extremely honest, there's nothing this year compared to last year that stands out as head over heels the best, unless they consider Erdtree its own entity.
Yeah, no, I understand it. I understand that. What do you think is the most likely game to be Game of the Year so far?
So one game that, and it's funny because like I don't want to take the link that you put in here as my answer, but I do think from a standpoint of like how Game of the Years of the past have worked, I think the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And the only reason I say that is because it's got the perfect mixture of graphics, nostalgia, gameplay. Like it's got like the whole shebang, right? Like if somebody said this, there's no real argument, right? If I say something like Helldivers, they'd be like, that was amazing for like a month, but whatever happened to after? Can a live service really do that? I completely agree with the Wukong sentiment. I love Wukong, and it may be one of mine. I think if I had to choose my Game of the Year for this year, it would probably end up being Tekken 8, because that's a game that I put in like 300 hours in at this point. Like I can't sit here and look at you and be like, yeah, 265 hours. Definitely not my favorite Game of the Year. Like that's an absurd amount of time for me to put into a game.
Yeah.
I love Space Marines too, but that game I love it. But it's like the campaign is about as long as Plucky Squire, it felt like. Now, did it feel that way on that difficulty? No, I felt like I was at war for years. But it is pretty short and it is lacking in some things. I think whenever the game gets its full roadmap completed, it's gonna be the game that it should have been on launch. Then I could have been like easy Game of the Year contender. But I do think Astrobot is in such a strong contention because it came out at the perfect time. It's close enough for people not to have forgotten about it, but it's also super good. Like in its own right, it's super good, and it's so unique in and of itself, being a PlayStation platformer. Like PlayStation platformer is in a sentence is so weird for me to say these days. But I like Astrobot a lot. I'm gonna go with Final Fantasy. Oh God.
Oh no. So I was also saying I agree with you. I think Final Fantasy and Astrobot are, if the awards was getting pulled right now, I think those two are actually the number one, number two most likely.
Yeah. I could agree with that. I'd say most likely to win. Yeah, it's probably in between Rebirth or Astrobot at this point in time. Again, Rebirth just because it debuted very, very strongly, and just the content expansion they had in that. It's just like it's a smooth, polished experience for the most part, and you know, it just did what it's supposed to do. It wasn't groundbreaking. It wasn't as crazy as the first remake or whatever, but it was enough of a quality. It was enough of a quality continuation, rather, that you can just say it was one of the best projects of the year, just off of virtue, off of general principle, off of GP. So there's that. And again, the timing of Astrobot, like you said, when was so perfect, because again, it dropped at this point in the year, and also this close in proximity to after Concord had its crazy flop. So there's even more love invested into this game. So I think the sentiment is kind of like supercharged with Astrobot. And what a statement it would be if Astrobot won Game of the Year over all these big heavy hitters and saying like, yo, you need to play platformers, weirder games, AA games, or games that might not have been in the forefront from a team that's a piece of Japan studio, no less. You know what I mean? Like, that would say a lot about where the gaming industry could head, and that could be a crazy statement made. But I will say, just by a hair, Rebirth would be Game of the Year so far. I think just what's most likely to win is that. Rebirth by a hair, but I think Astrobot's close. I think Helldiver's probably 2 paces behind, and then the rest, I don't know. If you ask a dweeb, Stellar Blade for the ass cheeks was Game of the Year to some people. I don't know, man. They love it. They love that weird shit, but that's on them. They love the digitized cheeks. I don't mind them, but it's not Game of the Year, guys. Come on, let's be real. Let's keep it stacked.
I can 100% see like the nominees. If they had 5 nominees, they would have like Astrobot, Final Fantasy. Then they might throw in a Helldivers, just because how big it was at that time.
Yeah, I think Helldivers, Black Myth in there, and
Black Myth.
If the last, I think they usually do 6 or 7. So I would say
6, I think.
Oh, 6. So it's a toss up between Warhammer, Stellar Blade, and Dragon's Dogma. I'm about to say.
I would say out of those, they probably will give it to Warhammer.
Yeah, I agree.
They'll probably give it to Warhammer, but it'll be one of those things of like Wukong again is going to fit the Spider-Man role, that when it doesn't win, all the internet will cry for about a month. And because last year was special because there were so many good games, but you could not denial Larian.
BG3 was a perfect storm. You couldn't deny that. You couldn't stop the rain. You couldn't stop the rain.
But also games like that game and like Elden Ring are 2 good examples. Games like that don't come around too often. Those are like
generational hits, bro. They lasted most of the year in terms of impact. Like over half of the year was filled with that discourse in the mainstream. Like in the mainstream. Like not just us. Even casual people were like, why are people having sex with bears, bro? What's this game? That's when you know you hit the zeitgeist.
Well, you know what's crazy? You could go to Steam DV, which is the aggregator of like the charts. Baldur's Gate 3 is still in the top 20 most played games currently. That is a single player game.
Facts.
No DLC, nothing. Just the game.
Just the game. That means people are playing that game over and over and over and over again. And now that they released mod tools, and
it's over.
Here's the funny thing with the mod tools. The mod tools are very limited. You couldn't do like any leveling or model design of the But they already hacked it.
Oh damn! So it's wraps.
So now the mod tools can do it. So it's a wrap. Baldur's Gate is going to reach Skyrim. There's going to be Baldur's Gate 3 for the next 10 years.
Fully.
But those type of games are very, very, very rare. So you can't say, oh, there's going to be a head winner. I think this is going to be a situation of you have a lot of very solid games that do things in a very unique way, but the one that has the most broad appeal, that has the most praise overall, was either going to be Final Fantasy or Astrobot, and the rest of them are just going to be honorary nominations.
I agree. Again, we got spoiled over the last 2 years because again, those shits are rare. That's hard to come by. It's like you're seeing Messi and Ronaldo play in football, and you're like, yo, the next year they're not as good, or they're getting older and stuff. So other players come in like, yo, they're still very good players. We just saw the apex of what gaming could possibly be. So when we're back down to kind of our normal levels of seeing fantastic players or world-class players, we're sometimes, some of us are still judging it to the standard of the greatest we've ever seen. And it's like, yo, we just gotta temper our expectations a little bit. Let's bring it back down. Like, these are still great games. We can still enjoy these to the hilt, but you know, it's hard to compete with some of the best things we've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. Like any Soulsborne that came after Elden Ring, a lot of people were like, they might have liked it, but no way are they ever going to compare it to like Elden Ring.
Absolutely not. That's sacrilegious.
Exactly. Like Lies of P was an amazing first effort by a small dev. They were very much kind of like the Wukong type of people. That this was their first real game, and it was an amazing effort. But it's probably the best non-FromSoft Souls game ever made. But even then, it's not Elden Ring.
And that's the comment they always give it. Like, yo, the highest praise I've seen this thing get. This is the closest somebody's gotten to a Soulsborne game that isn't FromSoft. That's high, and that's high praise. That is a compliment. That's an insanely positive comment. But it shows you the levels. It's like, yo, you're the closest anybody's come to Elden Ring. That's crazy. Like, you just gotta take that in stride, gang. That is what it is.
Yeah, like it. You know, it's like saying like going to in terms of like NBA. It's like, yeah, Carmelo Anthony, amazing player, great player. Ain't LeBron.
Facts. It's facts. Listen, Melo, my guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Knicks fan. That's my guy. But you gotta call spade a spade. Gotta call spade a spade. That's fair. Yeah. That's true. But real quick, so what is your personal favorite game of the year so far? Fig, I'm gonna throw it to you first.
Oh man, put me on the spot because I've been playing games all over the place of different eras of different ages. You know me, I play old crap.
Hey, listen, you can throw retro in there. Listen, I'm not giving no bounds on this.
What game of the year, not the game that came out this year.
This year.
You know, most of these gamers out here don't be playing games past 6 years ago, anyways. Exactly. They don't be playing new shit either, bro. You be alright. You know what I'm saying? You be good.
Honestly, I will probably say, if you take in like early last year, my personal game of the year was probably oh man, I just got the damn name of the game. It was the indie JRPG game that came out.
Sea of Stars?
Sea of Stars.
Let's go. That's a good one. Man of culture. That's what we talking about. Absolutely.
Yeah, Sea of Stars, and then if I was going to go incredibly retro, I would say Daggerfall Unity.
Okay.
And Daggerfall Unity, you guys never heard Daggerfall before. That is the second game in the Elder Scrolls series. This is the great grandpa to Skyrim. I'll say his name, Interkarma. He follows me on Twitter. Super nice guy. He actually spent time porting the original game to the Unity engine and fixing it, because the original game was a buggy, hot mess half the time, because it was one of those. It was in '96, and they were doing generative quests and stuff, and you know they
interesting. Like so a bunch of shit go wrong with that.
Yeah, so the thing was like all broken. Like half the quests were broken half the time. So he fixed all that. Fixed a bunch of stuff, and since it was done in the Unity engine, people started modding it like you would mod Skyrim, and now you can go on places like Nexus Mod and find hundreds of mods for a almost 30-year plus game. Year-old plus game. So, you know, and he's actually decided to move on. He gave it to a friend of his to keep on, and he's actually working on his own personal game now.
Fire.
Nice. Love that for him.
Yeah. So. But yeah, so I guess you could say those are my two, because I played Daggerfall a lot and Sea of Stars just because culture.
Facts. I hear it, man. It's two good picks right there. When your personal game of the year so far?
I still think I'm gonna have to lock in Tekken, even though that game is maybe made me lose many years off my life. Honorable mentions are definitely Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Huge fan of the Yakuza series. Wukong is out there. That's the thing. There's so many many good games out there. But I think I would have to say those two. If I had to pick another, like if I had to round it off on 3, I don't want to say this yet because I have not played the game yet, but I think Metaphor is gonna be up there. I think Metaphor Refantastic is gonna be up there because I'm a
people not saying enough about that game right now, bro. I'm like, yo, it might come through and like sweep some shit. It might come through and say some real stomp on business, bro. It'll really stand on business.
I think it's because I compare it to the buzz that Persona 5 got. Persona 5 got a lot of good buzz, but I think it's because it came out at such a really good time. Like Metaphor is dropping like right around, it's in October, so it's right around Call of Duty. It's around a bunch of other games that are dropping. And it's also not Persona, but it is basically Persona. So I think that if the game works well and if it does the thing Persona does, we're gonna hear a lot about it. But because it doesn't have that name brand, people are not paying attention to it right now.
And that's 100% true, because when Persona 5 first released, it had a decent amount of buzz, but it never really reached like big level. And if you notice that over the years, especially after Royale version came out, it started building up to the point. Remember when it got into the Smash Brothers and people were like, wait, why is Persona 5 Royal and why is Joker in Smash Brothers? And then it started blowing up like crazy. The game started blowing up like crazy, and then you looked at the re-release of Persona 3, and that did incredibly well. And so Metaphor, I think, is a situation where the Persona fans are just like sitting there with their fingers crossed, staring at it, going, please be good. And they're waiting for it to drop before pulling any trigger. But once that trigger is pulled, it's going to get pulled hard.
And if those trailers tell me anything, that it might end up being my game of the year, because I need a good turn-based JRPG to round off this year. I've had my turn-based with Yakuza like a Dragon. I've had my fighting games. I've had my shooters. I've had my action adventures. I need my Persona-esque game. I need the true blue JRPG experience. Not to say that Like a Dragon wasn't that, but there's levels to this. Just like you said, like if you compare Like a Dragon 7 or Like a Dragon 8 to a Persona game, it's like it's good, but it's not it. Like I need the LeBron James of JRPG or my LeBron James.
Exactly. Like I love Like a Dragon. I haven't played Infinite Wealth yet, but it's like one of those things of like, I know I'm gonna like it, so I'm just waiting until I get the mood to jump into it.
Fairs. And I'll give my potential game of the year. Honestly, my game of the year so far is Helldivers 2. I'm not gonna lie. I think
I like that.
I think the zeitgeist that it got into, and the fact that I knew of Helldivers 1 and I was like, yo, that's a cool game. You know what I'm saying? That's fire. But the more we saw of it, I was like, no, wait a minute. Hold on. This is good. Especially because I am very much a whore for co-op games. I adore co-op games. I love them so much. I have a deep love and respect. I earnestly think they are top 2, if not top 3 at worst, best genres to play games in, and the best genres in gaming, period. I have a very, very deep penchant for co-op stuff, so the fact that thing came through like a absolute tank, and just the experience, even if it was like crazy brief and we still got some time to get into it with the updates or whatever, for the time that I played, I enjoyed myself so much. Almost every minute of it was such a fun time. There was not one time where I was frustrated or whatever. I was having fun. It was pure unadulterated fun from beginning to end, and I had absolutely no issues with it, man. I loved it, man. The only issue I had with it was externally, because people were bitching about metas, and I was like, bro, stop bitching, just play the game. You know what I'm saying? So it was that. But I will say, after, there are still a lot of things in the running. There's still a ton of things that I got to get to and play and finish and see where I'm at. Closest obviously is gonna be Black Myth Wukong. I'm waiting for that game since 2021. So I think by the end of it, I think I will enjoy myself. But right now, I'm having an absolutely fun time with it. Astrobot, I got to get through. Warhammer, I do want to play. I got good indications from when, so I will be picking up at some point. I still gotta get through Rebirth. I gotta play that at some point. That's gonna take some hours, but I will find some ways. We'll find some time for it. What else is around here? I was looking.
Rising Deluxe Master Edition. I actually just bought that.
Oh my goodness, man, it's crazy. Let's see. It won't be my game of the year, but I'm just glad it's here. Age of Mythology Retold. Shout out to Age of Myth. Shout out to Age of Myth, baby.
So
we got that good. Game Pass back in. And we back in the loop, baby. You know what I'm saying? We love to see it. We love to see a legend back in the city. Let me see.
Also, you got Frostpunk that just
Frostpunk 2.
I
heard they got very good reviews. They got very good reviews, and I do want to check that out. Let me see. There's a bunch of stuff that dropped that was so fun, but right now I think those are probably the top of my list. Right now I'm also playing through the Plucky Squire, which I think has been really fun so far. Again, definitely want to go through that. I think I got 3 chapters left, but I've been having a blast with that so far. Big shout out to what's it called, Tales of Kanzara. I think that's an underrated project. Might not be my game of the year, but also a very cool indie project that I and we got to get involved with and play through. So that was a dope time. That score will be score of the year for me. I'm sorry, they're still number one. I don't think there's a score that's beating it this year. But yeah, I think right now it's Helldivers 2, but Black Myth Wukong is definitely hot on the heels. But we'll see, man. We'll see what happens at the end of the year. But with that being said, that is the end of our notes. That is the end of the notes. That's all we got on the show, as we are told. Is there anything that we might have missed from the past hour that we've been talking? Because Fig, you dropped this
1 hour.
Shower.
Okay, the past hour since the last update that we were talking. All right, the last update
that wasn't even an hour ago.
Yeah.
Okay, I may have overshot it. Anyways, any news that we might have missed since the last time Fig updated us in the middle of the pod with an update?
I don't.
The only thing I heard about is the YouTube stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of YouTube changes and stuff. I heard they're bringing back the old the ratings features for smaller creators, which is dope. I love that.
Well, I looked into the situation, and there's 3 major features that they announced. One is hype. So if you're a channel between 500 to 500,000 subscribers, what happens is that you put out a video and your viewers like the video, they could do what they call a hype. You could do 3 hypes a week, and there's going to be a chart, like a whole section, kind of like the trending page on YouTube, that's just for hype videos. So this is YouTube's way of saying, hey, if this video is really good, this is your chance for your community or even viewers who might like the video. Instead of just hitting the like button, hit the hype button and get them on that chart so they can get more exposure. So because in their mind, in YouTube's mind, someone with 500,000 subscribers and 500 subscribers are actually quote unquote the smaller mid-sized creators, because there's so many people like millions and stuff like that. So that's their thing. I have issues with that because there's innate manipulation with that, because you could have a guy with 1,000 subscribers have a video just straight, go viral, versus someone who has 500,000 subscribers and their things go viral. But if they have both their groups hitting the hype thing at the same time, what are the chances of the 1,000 subscriber guy to reach the hype board compared to the 500,000?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, the thresholds with that is, and that was my question. There's a bit of a disconnect. It's what if somebody's 400,000 subscribers, which is already close to that, and they're encouraging their whole sub base, hey, yo, drop a hype on me real quick, and they're kind of not necessarily manufacturing it, but they're encouraging people hey, jump these up, and they're getting there every single time. We'll have to see how it plays out in terms of the weights or whatever, but if it's just straight 1 for 1, your hype counts as 1 hype, there might be a little bit of a game to play with the bigger creators, and they might just come out on top with that.
Yeah, so that's going to be the other thing. The other thing is community. So you remember back in the day when Google Plus was a thing, and the only thing people liked from Google Plus was their group section where people just had a giant message board where everyone kind of post and talk. They're basically taking a modified version of that and replacing the current community section, which was just basically a giant message board for the creator of that channel, and making it so that both subscribers and the creator can post updates and messages on the board. So it'll be a running Discord type channel, only for text, that people can run on that. So they're they're trying to make it more like just like the word community. They're trying to make it
discord it a little bit, you know?
Discord it a bit, yeah. So I get what they're doing that. The last thing is very unique because this shows the mentality of YouTube right now. And it's focused on YouTube Shorts. And one aspect of YouTube Shorts they're pushing really hard right now are live streams on YouTube Shorts. People don't realize you could stream in the vertical format to YouTube Shorts and you will show up in people's feed when they're scrolling through YouTube Shorts. That's the same way TikTok does.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They added a thing called Jewels. So let me explain if no one's ever seen a TikTok live. You could buy things called coins. And one coin is basically a penny, right? And then you see these avatars, like little images and GIFs and stuff that, like a rose. A rose is basically one coin, basically one penny.
Oh, and this adds into like the galaxies and stuff, correct?
Yeah, like the galaxies and people, stuff like that. So it's all that stuff. So, stuff will explode on the screen. You'll see like a little chart, the whole 9 yards. And it's supposed to get people excited to tip the creator, whoever it is, right? Well, Jewels is YouTube's answer to that. It only works for YouTube Shorts, for live streams. And it's the same exact thing. And why this is very smart by YouTube is twofold. One of the biggest complaints from TikTok creators is that they don't make enough money running TikTok, so they go on TikTok Live and hope they get lots of tips. And sometimes some people get bank. Like some of these TikTok Live creators, even the ones that are doing the dumbest things in the world, sometimes are earning like 10 grand a month.
Yeah,
from tips that are just like pennies getting thrown at them at a time, right? So what happens if you bring that to YouTube Shorts? That means you're going to get people who might multi-stream to both, or just jump from YouTube, from TikTok to YouTube, because you can monetize your videos on YouTube. You can monetize your shorts videos, and now you have the monetization that is very similar to a system that you're already used to, which if people on YouTube pick it up, it's going to be just as profitable as on the TikTok side. But here's the second thing why it was very smart for YouTube to start doing this, and when it gets implemented. TikTok is in a fight for their legal health in the United States right now.
Yeah.
So if they lose that fight, all those people who relied on TikTok for their business, for live streaming, it's gone. So
that rebound,
you got to rebound. So what's the easiest way to rebound? A system that is already familiar to the audiences who are used to tipping in a specific way, and for the creators who are used to asking for stuff in a specific way. So they could just navigate over to YouTube Shorts and continue where they left off. So YouTube is basically telling these TikTok creators, hey, do you want to deal with TikTok's nonsense, or do you want to deal with YouTube's nonsense? Even though we're strict, we are not as restrictive as TikTok is, because TikTok really is very restrictive on your voice and what you can show and stuff compared to YouTube. And he goes, come over here. So this is YouTube's play at taking TikTok live, and if TikTok gets banned, boom, there's already a system set up for all those creators to jump on over and continue without missing a beat.
Yeah.
Word. Facts. Setting up the basket, man, in case the apples fall, man. I hear it. Facts. Yeah. You trying to get in position, bro. I know. I felt that too, for sure. But definitely my favorite feature out of that is bringing the hype. 'Cause I swear there was something like that a long time ago on YouTube.
Like something weird. Yeah. So I can't remember what it was, but there was something like that.
But yeah, bringing that back in any capacity to try and help foster at least some smaller scale of YouTube subbed accounts, that's helpful. So we'll see what happens with it, man. We'll see what happens. But that's good. I think that first change is good. The other two, we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, they're definitely trying to set up and make moves. But fairs. I think hype still W. I'll take a W for the hype. But yeah, listen, that's all we got then. That's all we got. That is damn near the longest episode we possibly ever done. Off of the hype conversation, off the strength. This is, rate this shit 5 stars. I promise you. If you have not done that at this point, I am going to literally find your house and go find your prized possessions, a bike or a vehicle, and I'm gonna get it Metal Gear Solid Fulton out of there. You're gonna see a big ass balloon pop up, and then this shit's gonna be airlifted out of there in like 3 seconds. I'm sorry, y'all. It gotta happen if you ain't rate this shit 5 stars. But as we get up out of here, we want to say a quick thanks to everybody and a quick shout out. So please, our esteemed guest, DBFig Gaming, please give us your closing statements, your closing notes, your closing message to the people out there, for everybody listening to episode 103 of the pod.
Well, first off, thank you guys for inviting me to the podcast.
Come on now.
Yeah, we talked for a long time.
Hey, listen, that's that good conversation, man.
What are the? See, I'm the old man in the group. So what are the kids saying? They yapping?
Yeah. Prime time yapping, brother. Prime time yapping.
Prime time yapping. But no, I appreciate anyone, and make sure, guys, whoever's listening to this, give these guys all their due. They've been working in the trenches for quite some time, trying to do their thing, and check them out, check out the other podcasts and the other stuff they put out. So that's my request to you. And if you, after doing all that, if you feel like, checking out what I do, which is like trailer reactions and let's plays and stuff, look up Double Jump and look up DBFig Gaming on YouTube or Twitter or Threads or Blue Sky. Just look up DBFig Gaming. I'm addicted to like making sure I have accounts everywhere. Some of them I don't use, but so you can check it out. But overall, my only message to the community at large is be smart, take a lot of things with a grain of salt, and if you smell bullshit, it's most likely bullshit, and move on with your day. It's not worth your brain space. We could doing something a lot more interesting and a lot more productive.
That's real. That's real. Listen, gems from the OG, bro. Listen, this man has been dropping nothing but gems, insights, and literal news to add to the podcast this entire night, bro. If y'all don't make sure y'all check this man out, again, your prized possessions will be Fultoned. I promise you. I will make that call. Like Solid Snake. I promise you, dog. But listen, this is such a dope dude, such a dope, again, just personality, energy, man. From playing everything and giving us just this dope commentary and just his beautiful self, from anything from retro to RTS and all that stuff, gaming news and all that. Make sure you check out Double Jump. Make sure you check out DBFig Gaming. Please go show him some love. Give us your closing statements for episode 103, dog.
As always, drink your water, play your games, mind your business, and honestly, just enjoy life, man. There's a lot of cool stuff out there. I think I've bought a game every week this week because there's been a game every week that's been gas enough for me to tap into. There's a lot of cool shit in life, so don't be angry. Enjoy life, Be happy.
That's real, man. My closing statements, as always, man, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We're gonna keep going, gonna keep rolling. Is there anybody else you want to see on the pod? To jump in, have conversations with us, let us know in the comment section. Hit us up on all social medias at No Cooldown Podcast everywhere except for Twitter. No Cooldown Pod on there. Man, just tap in. We got a lot of games to go. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. This year is still rolling into the hottest period of it through to game award season, and we got some special stuff going on at the end of the year, so you guys want to stay locked in for all of that. Rate the podcast 5 stars, show us some love. Keep your eyes on all the exclusive content we got on the other channels as well. And yeah, with that being said, I've been that man Trip. This has been DBFig Gaming as well as Went Easy, and this is episode 103 of No Cooldown Podcast, and we